Councilman Brennan, Councilman Harjo, Mayor Sykes.
President, let the record reflect we got a quorum for Tuesday, March 12th, 2024 meeting, City Council meeting. We're going to run down to presentation by Keller and Associates. It looks like we got James and Jordan. That's right. So James and Jordan, come to the have fun here. James and Jordan.
All right. Mayor and Council, thanks for having us. We were asked to come down and give a presentation about the asbestos water lines in your system by Public Works, which might have been a direction from you guys. So that's what this presentation is geared towards, asbestos in your water system. So kind of just starting out, what is asbestos? It's a natural occurring fibrous material found in rocks and soil. It's pretty durable, heat resistant, and that's why it was used in a lot of materials such as like roofing shingles and cement products. You might have already known that. I think when we hear asbestos, we think, oh no, it's dangerous, and yes, it can be. It can cause serious injuries to your lungs, and some diseases like cancer and mesothelioma. If you're inhaling that over a long period of time, mostly that will impact people working with that material a lot, like if they're in the mining and milling industry or installing those types of products that were listed on the previous page. But actually poses little risk to human health if like those materials are in stable condition and not eroding. Yes, and asbestos was used to manufacture cement pipelines for water systems. Those are commonly referred to as AC pipe or transite pipe. And the asbestos was used as a reinforcing fiber in the concrete pipe to make it a little more durable. It's used throughout the world. It's still used in some other places around the world, but it was valued for its durability and strength. And here in the United States, asbestos or AC pipe was installed from about the 30s to the 70s. And then transite or asbestos pipe it's assumed to have a useful life of about 50 to 70 years, and kind of the country as a whole stopped installing it largely in the 1980s. So based on that assumed life of 50 to 70 years, today we're kind of assuming asbestos pipe is at the end of its useful life. And kind of a statistic nationwide, about 18% of the pipes throughout the United States and water systems are AC or asbestos pipes. So where can asbestos like water lines pose a risk to human health? One of the avenues is mainly from like people working on it. So if like your water department is out tapping or drilling into it, performing maintenance on it, they could be exposed when they're cutting that pipe and those fibers become airborne. Another avenue is if you have a corrosive water and you're corroding your pipe from the inside because your water's aggressive, it could leach some of those fibers into the water. Then people use the water, we're washing our clothes with it, we're showering, washing our dishes, that dries, and now we got the fibers around us. So what about your city specifically? DEQ requires sampling for asbestos in the distribution system every couple years. The city did sample a couple years ago near one of the sites where you have asbestos pipe. It came up non-detect. It's usually, you guys use groundwater, which is usually not that aggressive. And then I did talk to DEQ, and they told me in the Boise region, which includes the Elmore County area, they have never seen a system have like an asbestos problem, due to corrosive water eating away pipes. If they did see that and you did have a problem, they would put you on like a quarterly sampling schedule to really kind of define the problem a little more. And if it really was a problem after that quarterly sampling, you get a nasty gram, an email, a letter, kind of straightening out, putting you on a schedule to get into compliance and bring that, resolve that issue. To our knowledge and the Public Works, you're not on a sampling schedule. You don't have a problem as far as we're aware. Yeah, a little more kind of specifics for your system. This map up here, the red lines are AC or asbestos pipe in your system. You have about 8,400 feet of it, and those are 6-inch pipelines. And just kind of on a percentage of your system, you have less than 2%. So you're like 10% of the national average. Pretty dang low. The locations where you do have transite pipe, these 2 red areas, they were identified in your last water master plan for replacement. And that wasn't because of, like water quality concerns. It was more of a concern with the age of the pipes. Kind of like we mentioned before, they're assumed to be at the end of their useful life. Don't like to maintain them because they're a hazard if you have to tap into them. And they're also 6-inch distribution lines, which are, relatively small. And, you get a lot more fire flow if you upsize those to 8-inch lines, which is pretty common. So that's why they were identified as projects. And that kind of the status of those 2 areas, 1.2, which was oops. Bear with me one second.
You broke it.
Yeah. 1.2 is over. Can you see my mouse?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Over here on this side of the city. That project has been designed, and it's waiting to be bid when funds are available. So it's ready to go. This project over here, 1.3 and 1.5, we are currently designing that replacement project right now. So the city is being really proactive on removing those pipes. And again, it's more from a maintenance and a fire flow protection standpoint and not really a water quality concern.
You did great. Good job. Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of work with a lot of other cities. You'll see AC pipe all over the place. You look at Suez and Boise, they have surface water, all kinds of different water chemistries, and they've got a lot of transite pipe in their system. And in other communities, and for the most part, our experience has been it gets replaced when the life requires it, and that's usually accelerated more when there's high groundwater. And that's because it gets a little bit soggy, but not so much the AC getting in there. Would say that it does present a little bit of a health hazard, particularly when you're removing or working on that. So the city crews need to take precaution when we have construction activities. When we did some work recently on 14th, and we were replacing some lines there. Anytime we came across AC pipe that would be bagged, it would be hauled to a hazardous landfill. It can be abandoned in place, which is what we would do with these projects. But if you expose it or damage it in any way, and you remove it from your trench, it's got to be disposed of at a hazardous landfill. Council, you got anything for Jordan or James?
No.
Councilman Brennan?
Is that the city staff may have already asked you this, but can we steal your slide deck here and put it on our website?
Yeah, Chris has got it.
Yeah.
Can we put it on our website? Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Worka?
when's the next scheduled testing then for us? It was 2001 was the last one, according to this.
2021, I think is what.
When's the next one then scheduled?
DEQ told me about every 9 years. I don't have your actual schedule from them though that they require. I mean, so
It'd be like 2030 if this report
sometime
was
in between
2021.
2021 and 9 years from then. Yeah.
Yeah, and if it's a concern, you can always do additional testing. You could go pull some samples, if you and have those tests done. They're usually done out of state, but you can certainly pull those samples and get more data. You could also, if it was really, if there's anything that came up from that, then you could consider additional steps as far as additional water quality. But from the water quality information we've seen, from the sampling, from experience in the valley, doesn't appear to be an issue.
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo?
do we have between Public Works and Keller, do we have an idea of when this project will be spec'd and dig ready?
Which
The 1.3 and 1.5?
Yeah, I think the
yeah, I think
target on 1.3 and 1.5 is January.
Okay, sorry, I have a glare here, so
Oh, yeah.
I can't see that. I apologize.
Yeah, we were hoping to wrap up the design this fall, and then based on what we just did with the well, we got great bids in January. So figure if we can get it ready for bid in January, that's going to get the best value for the city.
And with the expectation of abandoning in place, can you give us an explanation of what the process of that looks like? There's a lot of advocation for up here,
Yeah, so
in
what
terms
we
of
do is-
how to branch upstream from it and that
so
kind of
you
thing.
would do is construct all the new pipe parallel, so it's maybe it's 5 feet off or more, and then you'd go run new services to all your water lines, and so at that point, everybody in that area is served off of new pipe, new main lines, new service lines, and that old line, you just abandoning, it usually just means cutting the ends, capping it, maybe closing a valve, or filling the valves up, removing the cans. It's just making it so that it's not in use.
Does that typically involve like slurrying inside, or do you
You can,
just
but most
abandon
people
it?
don't, especially with 6-inch. I mean, if it were a 24-inch and 3 feet below your roadway, I'd say, yeah, you'd want to do that just in case it collapsed at some future day. But most people just leave it on it, but unaffected. But you could slurry it, but it's typically not.
And then last question for Public Works. Do we have that mapped out in GIS where that is? So
Absolutely.
future dig projects don't dumb into this and find out the hard way?
Councilman is in, yep, and it's in our forever records in the
Okay.
GSS.
And,
Awesome.
and it's common that you do construction and you'll hit. I mean, you hit. Oh, this is an old abandoned line. I dug through it, and then you just bag it, and it's. I mean, that might be a change. It cost you a couple $100, but it's not. It's not going to be the end of the world type of thing. You just plug it up and make note it for future reference.
Mayor.
Councilman Workla?
So, from your professional opinion, if you said it's 50 to 70 year lifespan and we're about 64 years in on some of this, do you guys think it's wise for us to test like now, do some sampling testing now, not wait till the 2030 cycle?
I mean, right now, with your plan to replace the pipe, I would say just move forward with replacement. And then you won't need to worry about the water quality issues, if there are any. Right now, you're already slated to do it within the next year to get started. I think if you get going on that, that's going to be the best thing you could do. If you did find something, you'd probably go on a quarterly cycle. By the time you got through a whole study, it'd be abandoned by then.
What's the timeline to get it all replaced?
We're hoping to target this, like you said, for bids in January and have it all done next year.
Have it all done next year?
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Would you, Councilman Workla, would you like a test done? Easy, that's an easy ask.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor?
Councilman Harjo?
And then regarding the 1.2 section, that has been designed already. A couple of us on council are newer than that project. Can you give us, I guess this is probably more of a question for internal. We got that designed, and I understand we had a bid process for that, and where did that one end up?
Councilman Harjo, I'm going to try to answer the best of my ability, but probably Chris will probably answer better than I. I think it was, that bid came in, what, 2 million over budget, 3 million?
Way high. It was like 4.5 million.
Yeah.
Like it was like more than double the estimate, and we only had one bidder. So I can talk more about that.
Go
if you
ahead,
want.
yeah.
So it's it was originally was going to bid out separate. We ended up rolling in part of that, or explored looking at part of that with the Well 17 project pipelines that we did. So we did replace
we put a new line on 14th. And then, so there's been some progress. We even put some stub outs to accommodate this next phase. The question is, well, why not move forward with that one right now? Why are we maybe considering 1.3 and 1.5 ahead of this one? I think the main reason is that 1.3 and 1.5 is by a school. There's fire protection, desire improvements there. So it's because of that, I think we want to prioritize that area first. So do that one first, and then based on funding, hopefully can get to the next one within the next couple of years as well.
One more question for Public Works and our internal staff. Is this type of project something that we would have the ability or desire to go out for like a DEQ loan to just get the funding and get this done?
I think we're gonna be able to do without doing that, Councilman.
Okay. As a part of CIPs?
Yes, it's
Okay.
my intention it'll be on the CIP.
Awesome. Thank you.
And can I just say kudos to the city for being progressive with their rates, because really, you get a system as old as yours, you want to have a replacement program in place. You think about if the average life of a pipe is 100 years, you should be replacing pipe every year, and so that costs a lot of money. So to be progressive in your rates, to establish a replacement program allows you to do things like this and prioritize things as they come up.
Anything else, council? All right, James, Jordan, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for driving down.
Thank you.
All right. Recognizing persons in the aisle. Would anybody like to get up and speak? All right. Going down to...
Wait, you got Dawn.
Gotta be quick, Don.
There's no people standing in the back, but there's 2 free seats now since they left.
So, hang on one sec, Don. There's a couple seats out front if you guys want to sit down. You want to There's one more. All right, Don. Sorry about that.
Okay, so which schools is this that you guys got going here? Is it the high school, the middle schools, grade schools?
So Don, this is comments, not questions. I'm not trying to be mean. It just...
Okay, well, what about that picture up there? It's not very bright. I only see a couple purple lines. Where's the rest of the lines at on it? You can't even tell where the area is, really. But I'm just kind of concerned about some of the schools and stuff, and our canals. I know we got wood pipe in the ground here and there. I don't know if any of it's carrying water, but we do have transite pipe, I'm sure, of that somewhere in this town, if not cast iron. And the cast iron could be even leaded back then. I don't know. And even our galvanized pipe can be a problem if it's corroding. That's saying there's something there, possibly. What it is, I don't know for sure, but could be something. And a lot of the old timer hookups, they probably only have either cast iron or galvanized hookups. Some of them got copper, but not very many of them are poly pipe yet. I don't know what you guys are putting in, whether you're putting in poly or whatever they call it. You guys plan on the HDP and slipping any of it or filling any of it in or anything? I just came by in Boise. I don't know if it was, they got, oh geez, over a quarter mile almost of HDP laid out there along Franklin Road. And they got valves on it, pumps, gate valves and stuff. I don't know what that is, whether it's water or or sewer or what, but they got something big going on there even, so. I don't know how you guys plan on addressing this, hopefully when some of the kids are not in school, so we can get some of it done, I guess, this summer. A lot of it needs attention, I'm sure, when the time's adequate to get it done, before winter anyway. Kids. That's pretty much it for now. But I'm sure there's some more questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Don.
Thanks, Don.
Brennan?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Upon reviewing the posted City Council meeting for tonight, I noticed 2 additional scheduled City Council meetings. In response, I am here to not only request but implore this body to ensure the upcoming 320 special meeting with the Shoshone-Bannock Tribe and the 326 Fiber Workshop meeting be video recorded and posted on the City YouTube channel. I am hoping tonight this body will discuss and/or commit to videoing these meetings for the public. Since these meetings are during normal business hours, for many Mountain Home citizens, they are not able to attend, may not be able to attend. If you believe or ran on governmental transparency to foster public trust, additional video recording would seem like a low-hanging fruit. It is not only an opportunity to be open to the public, but to help convey any information from these types of meetings to the public. I'm not here to accuse or insinuate any secrecy or an intentional withholding of information. However, I noticed meetings outside of the regular City Council meeting tend not to be video recorded and posted. For example, last year there were 5 meetings, 3 special, 1 workshop, and 1 executive. And the only one I could find posted on the city's YouTube channel was the 12/20/23 meeting. For perspective, that meeting has 148 views as of last night. Barring any executive session, it would be great to have these meetings videoed and posted for informational purpose as well as ease of access. The last fiber workshop was not video recorded and posted, which would have been great since the purpose of that workshop was to give the community an overview of the current progress. These are missed opportunities to strengthen the public's trust with the city, especially on topics and issues that directly impact the public, such as tax abatement and exemption for new development. That particular subject was the focus of 2 special meetings last year. Neither of those meetings were videoed and posted on the city YouTube channel. The fiber project and potential casino are considered by many to be big topics here in town. It is my belief any chance not only for total transparency, but open information is the cornerstone for public trust, especially when these meetings are scheduled at times that the members of the public cannot attend due to daily schedules. You already video and post the regular City Council meetings. Why not go one step further to help get the information out to the public? Again, if you believe or ran on transparency to help foster the relationship between government and the public through actions such as town hall meetings, it would not only be advantageous for this body, but fruitful by addressing questions or concerns from the public with the information from these meetings. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Brennan. Bud?
I would like to address the budget on the fiber optic. Tiffany's been really good about giving me the information, and I appreciate that. But it's really vague. You go across the description and you do not know exactly what they're talking about. And we don't know how many people are signed up as far as revenue being collected and the actual cost, because when you look at this budget, it's kind of reversed. It starts at the top and goes way down. So it would really be nice if you guys could implement a plan that every month or every meeting, you guys say, okay, this is what we collected, this is what we've spent, and this is the new equipment that we bought, and these are the damages. That would help me because people are always asking me about it. So I request that you guys do that. Okay? Thank you.
Thanks, Bud.
Thanks, Don.
Ted?
Council, Mayor, my name's Ted Thompson, 2245 Northeast Summerlin Drive, Mountain Home, for the record. In order to get the city airport back on track, I'm proposing a study of options to improve management and performance of the airport based on the research conducted by Dr. Michael Jones, commercial rated pilot, former Air Force Air Traffic Control Officer, airport manager, and president of an airport authority. Dr. Jones has published articles and made presentations about the reasons small airports such as ours do not perform satisfactorily. Few of the reasons Dr. Jones finds that these airports fail is because they have voluntary advisory boards made up of mostly pilots, contract to fixed-base operations rather than gaining that revenue for the airport, operate under the wrong organization chart, and do what they always have done. I recommend the council approve Dr. Topher Waller to lead the study, allow him to pick a team with the concurrence of the council to conduct this study. The team should include experience in civil engineering, marketing, economic development, financial management, aeronautics, and legal. Dr. Waller is an accomplished scholar and author who does not have aviation experience and addresses Councilman Brennan's concern about the lack of non-aviation experience on the Airport Advisory Committee. The goal of the study is to propose an improved airport authority and management structure that provides an unbiased environment in which all airport operators, visitors, and users feel welcome, are treated equitably, and can succeed based on their own merits. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Run down to department head comments and reports. All right, Brenda. No, who else we got back in there? Bets? Oh, Amy? You good? You got Ty? Ty.
Mayor Council, we're excited. Next week we'll be starting our 2 new officers. So they'll be here for month end or free training, then off to the academy for the summer and graduate in October. Today we sent half our supervisors to some in-supervision training, and the other half we sent them to a workshop on suicide prevention. So we're looking to get some good information back from them. Then part 3 from that is then we'll do peer-to-peer training on suicide prevention. So,
fantastic. Thanks, Ty. Bets?
Mayor, Council, just kind of really 2 big things coming up here. In the development world, Brenda and I are going to the final meeting with the Idaho Power electrical plan. So tomorrow or Thursday, they're going to release their plan that they've developed for the next 10 years with us. And we've been spending the last few months kind of going over where transmission lines should go, what's important to our community, don't take away view sheds, things like that, be cognizant of residential areas. And so we've had the opportunity, originally me and Chris, now me and Brenda have had the opportunity to kind of plug their ear and tell them what we think would be important to our community. Hopefully that's how it really lays out in 10 years, but we all know, we'll see what 10 years really looks like. But that'll be exciting that we'll finally be done with that, and we'll get to see that plan on Thursday. And then economic development is actually partnering with Elmore County Rural Development and the Chamber to bring back Lunch and Learns. So we are bringing back Lunch and Learns on March 28th to do a quarterly meeting with the Small Business Alliance. So Irene Gonzalez will be coming down on the 28th to talk about financing your small business. First to start it and to expand. So it'll be a free program to any local business that can join us, and lunch will be provided by First Interstate Bank. So thank you, Robbie Robinson, and hopefully I can see some small businesses there. And can I steal that computer? It's taking over the night. Transformers. It sounds like Transformers are taking over. All right. Thank you, guys.
Which movie did you make?
The one I look up always.
Oh.
And I can
Is that quick? Probably. That's miss a beat.
She did not.
That phase. Yeah. I'll move this one.
Chief Moore?
Mayor, Council, you may recall a couple of meetings ago, council meetings ago, I made you aware that we were going to write a letter of recommendation to the Elmore County Board of Commissioners recommending a consistent open burn ban be installed for just to be in harmony throughout Elmore County for the open burn ban. Happy to report the first of this month they read and accepted our recommendation. So effective June 24th, we're going to go into an open burn ban, and will stay in the open burn ban until October 1st. So for enforcement and for people's, everybody's knowledge and stuff, it's going to be a consistent message that goes out there for the public and hopefully save a lot of confusion for everybody. So glad to report that. I would like to give a big shout out here to the members of the fire department. I want you to know that for the past over 2 years, they've been putting a tremendous amount of extra time considered into the vast trainings that we've had. We've more than doubled the requirements and work and stuff, and they have really stepped up. They're learning a lot. We're gaining for our new buildings and our structures that are coming into our community. So we're really pleased with those guys, and you see them out there in the street, tell them thank you, please. By way of training, we do also have, some of us are going to be attending a rail car incident response training. It'll be the 28th of this month. It's an all-day affair. It's a FEMA class. I know Chief Thompson is listed on as being an attendee of that thing. So a good training for us to be able to attend, and it's nice to have it come into our community. The Seattle stair climbers all arrived back, so nobody suffered anything too traumatic with their experience there, but all 4 of them back. Good on them for putting forth that grueling effort. And then our training at Sequel is ongoing. We've got several buildings we can work with. Currently, we're in our second dorm room working. By that stuff, we're able to be working with our hydraulic tools, forcible door entries, ventilation, fire behavior, just the whole gamut of stuff. So it's just a plethora of good fire knowledge that everybody's able to glean from that facility. And lastly, I have is the you had noticed here about a week ago Saturday, they found a smoke over in that air industrial way. That was the first dorm room or dorm building being burned down. That was a very large structure. Again, just couldn't be more pleased with. We had a lot of luck. Mayor, you must have been in charge of the weather that day. So
When it's good, it's me.
so, yeah, so we've got
When it's
one
bad,
of those
it's
and everything
Representative
else.
Bundy.
Sorry.
When it's bad, it's Representative Bundy.
So we'll hope for that. So if things go as planned, we're going to train in that second dorm room for the remainder of this month, and if things go with the weather and time, we'll try to burn that in April before we get into our wildland fire season training. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mayor? Councilman Brennan?
Chief, your rail car training, does that include hazardous material as part of the training?
Councilman Brennan, I'm sure that it will. It's an 8-hour class, and it's just basically it's for first responders and identifying rail cars and what to do, who to contact, and everything. So I'm looking for a lot of good knowledge to come out of that.
Okay. And also the burn ban cooperation with the county, is that effectively making everything within the boundaries of Elmore County under one rule, or does that exclude federal properties, like Forest Service or whatnot?
Great question, Councilman Brennan. That is in Elmore County, but that's one of the things with the Harmony that runs with their burn ban as well. So if they have,
federal
we're
one?
not talking ag burns, and we're talking just open burns. So
I'm confused, sorry. You're saying there's like a federal burn ban that is at the exact same time as the local one?
that's the intent of this time frame. Yes.
Of the time frame. So when it goes into effect in June
24th.
June 24th, then effectively everything within the geographic boundary of Elmore County would be under one burn ban?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Brandon?
Well, I've been working with Public Works and Streets and Maintenance on getting them more into, well, revamping Public Works technology integrations with the city and reorganizing things, and then Streets and Maintenance getting them integrated in the first place and using technology more effectively. That's been one of the bigger things I've been doing, and otherwise I've been working to establish relationships with vendors and things along those lines to just get the IT landscape in a good place.
Fantastic.
Chris?
Mayor, council, couple things, big things, 6th Street sewer project's going great. All the asphalt's out, we've got all the trees out. That was a lot easier than what we anticipated. We did run into one water line that had been punched through roots, but not a big deal there. Idaho Power will be starting their project out there tomorrow. We anticipate that we'll start working on our sewer line replacements next week. So it's on track, things are going well. And knock on wood, we haven't hit any snags yet. So wastewater, we did start putting water on the farmers' fields. Our irrigation lagoon, our water treatment lagoons were getting close to full. We never met capacity, but we did start dumping water yesterday. We of course got all the DEQ requirements checked boxed before we did that. We don't anticipate it'll be a daily thing. We just wanted to get $1 million gallons or so of cushion in case we get another heavy rain. You'll see going up around town, we're going to start placing some bollards at some of our crossings where we have the pedestrian push buttons. We've had an issue with some trucks cutting those corners a little close. The first one you see go up will be on the corner of Airbase Road and Haskett. We're hoping that will save us a bunch of those push buttons, so you'll see that coming.
And I want to say I appreciate you doing that. I mean, I've been trying to get some of those bollards in certain areas of our downtown corridor along the Haskett and Airbase Road, so I appreciate you and your team doing that.
Streets.
Yeah, tell them thank you, because I've been asking for that for a little bit here. Councilman Harjo, sorry.
That they were going in as I drove by on the way here, so thank you.
They're gonna be really nice. They're going to save the city money in the long run.
Yeah, those 88 ramps aren't cheap.
No,
So
they are not.
keep running those over. Tiff?
Mayor, Council, I don't have
Paul?
anything.
Nothing there.
Okay. All right, conflict of interest declaration. Has any council member received information pertaining to or otherwise had any contact with any person regarding any items on the city council agenda? If so, please set forth the nature of contact.
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
Lots of contact regarding the airport, and I don't know if it's all inclusive, but I'll name all of you that have reached out to us here, at least to me. I won't speak for everybody else. Ted Thompson, a lot. AJ Lewis, Terry Manduka, and Ian Morcott.
Okay.
All on the same topic.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey?
same as Councilman Brennan.
Mayor?
Councilman Harjo?
Same?
Here, same.
Mayor, final also?
Yep.
Regarding the conversations that they're calling, texting, and emailing about, I would like to take a few minutes to publicly address what a lot of these comments are about and maybe the intent behind them within the section that it applies in old business. If I could call, I'd like to talk to Ted Thompson on the record if he's willing to talk.
Okay. I'm just writing it down, I don't forget. Okay. Any other conflicts, council? Hearing none. I'll run down the consent agenda. Is there anything on the consent agenda you'd like to discuss, pull, get more clarification on? And that's A through M.
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
I got a few things. Regarding item D, the grant application, as I read it, I'm not sure who I'm addressing my question to. Who's responsible? Tiffany?
You can ask your question. More than likely, it may have to be tabled.
Probably not, but it talks about that the city will be required to ask for a match waiver. I don't know that it says we're required to, but I guess I want to know the intent of city staff of whether the only way we apply for this is with asking for the waiver of the grant match. I want to know which direction for sure we're going with this. So if we don't ask for the waiver, then we have a lot of money to come up with.
Go ahead, Tiff.
My understanding is the intention is to ask to have the match waived, and if the match is not waived, then either we decide to pull or you're going to have to allocate the funds spread out through FY25 and 26. So you would have time to then decide whether you want to allocate the funds or not.
Okay, so regardless, that would come back to us.
Correct.
With whether we're awarded it contingent upon
The waiver.
the waiver.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Mayor, can I continue?
You bet.
For Public Works, the item number E, the requested extension to the currently approved pavement resurface project. How does, I may not be using the right word, but the extended scope of service, how did that come to play as far as where we're at now? And maybe like why wasn't it part of the original design or bid process?
Mayor, I can't answer for why it was never part of the original design process. I can tell you that when I took Public Works over, we looked at this project, and I sat down with my streets and my water and my sewer guys. And to me, it made sense that if we're already going to be doing a street project on 6th, that if we could take advantage of the fact that the equipment's there, the trucks are there, everybody that is building it is already there, that we could get a better deal than if we came back at some point in the future and tried to resurface the road. The road is definitely in need of resurfacing.
Sure.
The nice thing about it is that we're replacing in the P1 sewer project the required, that sewer infrastructure that's really bad. The rest of it is going to be easy. Placing services, manhole covers, those kind of things are going to be super simple. To Public Works, it made sense to do it now. It's cheaper now than it will be down the road.
Sure. If I could divert to legal, what, is there any roadblocks, so to speak, for us approving a much bigger extended project than already approved without further bidding? Taking advantage of the service that's there presently?
Let me make sure I'm understanding. You're approving something larger than what you
Went to bid for?
went to bid for?
Is that right, Chris?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah, that could actually. I mean, depending on if you didn't go for bid on, it's a different project. And so you do have to be wary of that. Yes.
Okay. I won't outwardly object to it by any means. I'm all for getting the streets fixed appropriately, but I just want to make sure we take the right path to get there.
The opposite is fine.
Smaller.
You approve a project that's this much and then you actually pull it back some.
Sure.
But usually the other way,
If they were to,
especially if it changes the category, the 25,000, the 50,000, the 100,000.
do you know that answer off the top of your head?
I don't.
So it was, what was the original bid for the pipe? And that street portion of it, what was it?
For the extension portion,
Yeah.
the original price was 1.4 million. But we were able to go back to the Sunrock was doing it, and they dropped it down to 900 because they took out some of the mobility costs and some of those kind of things.
No, so not the extent, not the extra, not the, what do you call it, add-on. What was the original bid for just the sewer extension and the road reconstruction?
I don't have that number in front of me, I'm sorry.
So,
I don't know if that answers any of it.
No, that doesn't.
No?
So what we're trying to do is, the company's already there, and so we didn't know if we could put it forward and ask council if we could do add-ons
Yeah,
for asphalt.
it's the same thing as a change order.
Yeah, change order. That's the word I was looking for, sorry.
I got you. And change orders are run-of-the-mill and routine, happens all the time. It depends on how material the change order is. So if you go for bidding a project and it's a $1.2 million project, and we just did this small change order and now it's 2.2 million, well, obviously that's material.
Understand.
But if you're just changing an X to an O, and it's, or ironically, if it gets more expensive because of the underlying materials went up in the interim, then that's also okay. But if you're materially changing the nature of the project, that's where you could run afoul of the bidding laws, because then your second place bidder or your third place bidder, that kind of thing would have been like, well, we would have bid on that kind of thing.
Okay.
So I think what we probably should do then is probably put the change order out to bid, is what you're saying.
That would, depending on how material it is, yeah.
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan.
Is there any chance, like we could approve contingent upon a full legal review of where we're at?
That works too.
If legal says, then we're done. If it's not
I don't
changing.
know anything about this project. I
Right.
haven't looked at it at all.
If it doesn't change the scope or the material that you call it, then we're good to proceed. Is that an option for us?
That's fine.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey?
did we have anybody else bid this project?
How many people
Was it
bid
just Sunrock?
the project? You remember for the sewer and the road?
The original.
There were two. The original was awarded to Mountain Companies for $2,044,100,000, and then Knife River was over at 2.2 million. So, and that included 8th, right? East 8th, North, that whole sewer, and then up 6. So,
I'll look at it.
Okay.
So if you bid it, if you did a motion to approve pending legal's approval, if legal does not approve, then with legal's recommendation to remand back, then it would be, then it'd come back to you.
Question, Tiffany, on that document you just read, the one we accepted was Sunrock, is that correct?
no, you awarded Mountain Companies, and Sunny Rock is their sub.
Their sub.
That's listed in the document.
And it was 2.2 million?
It's 2 million.
2 million.
Knife River came in at 2.2 million.
2 million. And then Chris, did you say that
And what's this change order?
they're charging less? Or they made some changes and now it's like 900,000 versus the 2 million, or?
Mayor, council, so just the new
Okay.
edition originally came in over $1 million. We went back to them and we negotiated some of the things like mobilization of that, and they dropped it down to the number you had before you.
Okay.
Yeah. It didn't affect the initial contract at all.
Copy.
So it added another 900,000?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know what it's changed, but that's material to me.
Okay.
So we're done then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'll look at it, but it's, my eyebrow is involuntarily going up. But that's a lot. It's a third, it's an entire third.
So pull it.
Yeah.
Okay. So council, I'll just pull E. Okay. All right.
Mayor?
Councilman?
Continue a little more. I wanted to send a thank you to Amy and the police department folks. Where's Amy at? And over there. For the well-written memos that help describe all the assets you're requesting to purchase. I appreciate the, as you said, you want to hit us all at once rather than one at a time. I appreciate that. And I think I said the same thing about the IT department. Like, give it to us all right now. So thanks for the well-written memos, Ty, Amy, whoever drafted all that. And then finally, I'd like to pull item F off of the consent agenda.
Council, do you have any other, I guess, clarifications on A through M? Do you want to pull something? Do you want to talk about something more in clarity? If not,
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey?
really quick. On the bill roll, Fibers gas is still being paid out of the admin budget. I'd like to see that moved over to fiber so that we can actually have a real budget when we go up during budget time in July. Because if we don't, we're paying for it out of admin, there's not going to be an accurate accounting. So move it over. We're gonna have to subsidize fiber anyway. Move it there so then when you guys come to us, we know how much it's going to cost.
Okay.
Mayor.
Councilwoman Workler?
Also on the bill roll underneath the fiber optic fund, LID one number 1 falls under it as a GL. We talked about this before, but if there's any way we can separate those two. So you have fiber optic fund, and then you have LID 1 separate, so it's not underneath, because they're two different entities. That'd help for clarification.
Okay. Okay. Councilman Brennan?
One more thing I left out of my statement to the police department folks. In those memos, the council's been talking about like the purchasing policy and all that stuff. You very, I don't know who wrote it, so I'm just addressing all of you. Amy, you very well articulated that you're going to overdraw on one line of about $50, and in the memo asking for permission to overdraw that, and that's what I expect to see, and I thank you. So that was my request in our purchasing policy update, is anything that's outside of a line item that's already approved, like you come back and just ask to do a quick movement, and I appreciate that.
Thanks, Councilman. All right, Council.
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
On items K and L, I had one question. Let me get back to my page here with the notes. I had a question when it comes to the resolution. We have in section 1 some verbiage that states that we're entering into a lease attached here too with the party specified, but doesn't specify specifically who, and this is prior to the resolution, we're transferring the lease from one person to the other. I just wanted to make sure that we're stating this appropriately. Do we need to include the name of the individual in this case?
Tiffany, go ahead.
Councilman, typically it's an exhibit attached, so
Okay.
I'll just make sure I reference exhibit.
Okay.
And then I attach actually the lease document with it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And just for sake of paper, didn't print it again,
Fair.
sorry.
No, you're great, thank you.
Councilman Brennan?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda, pulling items E and F.
Second.
All right. Council, it's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Call for the question. Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
All right. Run down to old business. Action item, deliberation decision to reappointment of A.J. Lewis. What I'm going to do is I'll probably have all 4 of them come down.
3.
Or 3, I'm sorry, yep. I had 3 of them. Come on down. And then, Mr. Wolcott, since you're the chairman of the board, would you like to come down? Gentlemen, how we doing?
Excellent. How you doing?
Fantastic. All right, council.
Okay,
Councilwoman Workla.
Yes, I guess that's why you're here, sorry. Thank you for coming today, seriously. Thank you for taking the time. I had a hard time approving a reappointment if I couldn't even put a face to a name, right? So, if you could just maybe tell me a little bit about yourselves, your history, your background, what you're, I guess, currently doing for the council, for the airport advisory, I guess, committee, I should say. Just any information that you can give me that would help me just understand where you see the future of the airport, where the airport is currently, any information, I just appreciate it. So whoever would like to go first.
I'm AJ Lewis. I've been an air traffic controller for going on 25 years now. I have experience in tower, GCA, and center operations, basically every facet of air traffic that you can have. I've done it domestically and internationally. I started with the Air Force, worked for the Department of Defense, worked for Federal Aviation Administration, performing air traffic operations all over there. I have my bachelor's degree in aeronautics from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, as well as air traffic management from the Air Force Institute of Technology, and I'm working on my graduate degree from the Air Force Institute of Technology and Data Analytics. I think the airport is moving in the right direction. I think there's been a lot of positive changes that are going on. Most notably, you've got your in-ground tank over the airport for fuel back in service, which is awesome. You're providing maintenance out at the airport. Fuel is available over there. We're talking FedEx possibly coming out to the airport and looking over there, which would be a huge win for not only the airport, but possibly your industrial park, depending on what their footprint looks like in the future. I have made some proposals that the mayor and I have kind of gone back and forth, such as airport overlays. I think that the Turner House subdivision that was kind of put out there was maybe a little too close of a footprint to the airport, but it is what it is now, and so we're just looking to protect the longevity of the airport and make sure that the city doesn't encroach out there.
Thank you.
And my name is Steve Mulberry. I live in Hammett, and I'm a retired commercial pilot. I got my pilot's license in 1970 in Idaho Falls, where I was born and grew up. And since then, I've been aggressive in aviation, flown as a commercial pilot. I got my commercial pilot's license in 1973, and have flown for 27 full-time pilot jobs until I retired from job number 27 a year and a half ago. That included, I was with United Airlines for nearly 30 years. And I've had just a little less than 39,000 total hours flying time, about 28,000, or 38,750 to be more exact. I have a 4-year degree from Boise State, a Bachelor of Business Administration with emphasis in aviation airport management. So I've been, as I mentioned, to accumulate that amount of flying time, I've flown for 3 different Part 121 air carrier operators, several charter companies, several corporate jobs, and the longest I've been away from the cockpit since I got my pilot's license as a commercial pilot in 1973 to my retirement from job number 27 was 6 weeks in all those years. So I've been a pilot for 54 years and a commercial pilot for 51 years. And I think that the airport out here is, I also built a new hangar here. Rich Sykes helped me choose the colors. I brought down some color swatches here, and the staff helped pick the colors. We just finished that project 2 years ago. And so I'd like to mention that in the 27 full-time job as a commercial pilot, my first job in aviation as a newly minted flight instructor in 1973 was here at Mountain Home Airport for Clark Flying Service. And so this is kind of a homecoming for me to chase flying jobs all over the country, lived in 5 different states and 15 different cities. And with United Airlines flew 14,000 hours in 747 and then 8,000 hours in DC-10. So most of my experience with the airlines was in overseas long-range navigation. Also made 3 trips to Kuwait with the troops during the Gulf War, supplying troops to the Kuwait, and have a vast experience in different facets of aviation, from aerial surveys to medevac flights to passenger cargo, commuter airline, 5 years as a bush pilot in Alaska. So I, in the years of being a corporate pilot, where I flew mostly I've flown all states, all 50 states, been in close contact with probably 40 FBOs at least, where I've worked with them on a daily basis, a weekly basis, and anywhere from engine overhaul, aircraft paint shops, to field services. And so I know a good FBO when I see one, and I know bad ones when I see them. And I think that everything here at the Mountain Home Airport is on the right track presently, moving forward. There's a lot that's been accomplished already in a short time since we've had a few changes at the airport that have all been positive. And I think that we're on the right track, and if we keep going the way we have been, we've got a lot of things that we can do yet. But it's positive.
Rich Buxton. I'm from Boise. I've got a hangar out at the airport. I've got a master's in mechanical engineering. I'm also a certified flight instructor. So I've worked a few years as doing city-county engineering, so I appreciated the discussion earlier about wastewater. But currently I work on designing locomotives and done some aircraft design and that sort of thing, and also work for Caterpillar. So as far as the airport's concerned, yes, I like the way it's going. I'd like to see more hangars out there and, bring more aircraft. I think that the city should appreciate this asset and try to keep it around, because once it goes away, you'll probably never build another one. The second thing is I'm small fry, but I do drive over from Boise quite often, and I'm gonna buy gas and go to restaurants and go shopping and try to get stuff to work on things, and so and other people coming in are also going to be spending money. So,
Ian.
Yeah, it's a great team. There's a lot of depth in different facets, and excited to move forward. New FBO's kicking butt, and there's a lot more planes in the field. So it's like, it's fun. So I've been flying airplanes since I was 18, and a little town called Palo Alto with a tiny little strip, and I'm sort of back home to another tiny little strip, which is really cool. So having fun, enjoying it.
Councilwoman?
Yes. Thank you again for coming. No, that does help. Obviously, you have experience. So I do appreciate you taking the time. How do I say this? So I received a packet. Now tell me if I'm speaking out of turn. But I received a packet this thick on how the airport isn't doing well. Okay, this is a lot for me to look over in a weekend. Tiffany's eyes are bulging. I do not want to just discard this, right? You say it's going great, but then I hear that it's not. Part of me wants to see if we can have maybe an executive session, because it's a personnel matter with the airport manager, to get his point of view. Sorry. I want to see what council's thoughts are on that. There's always two sides to every story, so what do you guys think?
Councilman Brennan?
Gentlemen, I appreciate you being here, and I think as she's alluding to, I'm getting a little overly frustrated with what's happening, and I'm not blaming anybody, right? It's just something's afoul, and I'm not sure what it is, and I wanted to ask, we'll come back to the executive session thing, but AJ made a point to say something that he'd like to protect in the airport, which is kind of the airstrip, the airspace around it. I'm curious, from from all three of you, if you could name something on the ground, a tangible item that you would like to be fixed in the next 90 days, what would that be?
Zoning.
All right. We've got new taxiways, new aprons, plenty of room to build new hangars, so that's a real positive right there. There's really nothing needs fixed. We just, we'll have more tenants, people coming out to build hangars now that we've got room for. How many slots are there now created on the two parallel taxiways?
I don't know the exact number, I'm sorry.
Room for maybe 40 hangars.
Right.
I can't see anything. That's a real plus there. That's in and done.
I think we're all kind of on the same board with, there's been a lot of development in the city lately, and we just want to make sure that that doesn't encroach on the airport or the airport overlays, just to make sure that we don't lose any approaches to either end of the runway, we don't have anything where it shuts down the runway, or we're unable to expand when and if the situation ever presents itself.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Garvey?
Oh.
Sorry, one more, sorry. Richard?
Yes, I would agree also on
I'm
the overlay and pushing that forward. I think it's, as we read it and as we've gone over, it's similar to the county overlay, and it's not terribly restrictive. It's fairly open-ended, but it's making everybody consider future development, to think about it before acting on it, rather than forbidding anything going on.
Yeah, sort of the low-hanging fruit, I think, is the Elmore County zoning for the airport areas that they're under control of. And I think if somebody wants to annex in, they are already under Elmore County zoning. And I think if you just adopted their zoning for any new properties being zoned into the city, that would keep the airport viable. So.
And if I may, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So, I understand that just as the city went through their downtown renovation, and you had a lot of people who were saying this would work or this wouldn't work, and there was a pretty clear divide on both sides of the aisle. I think the same thing is happening at your airport. You're seeing a lot of growth right now with the new taxiways going in, new hangars going up, the possibility of FedEx going in there, the possibility of more hangars going in there, businesses kind of looking into the rail park and how that all ties in. There's a lot of good things that are happening in there, but as you grow, it does tend to make some people scared to make sure that that growth goes in the right direction. Nobody here is telling you to disregard any different viewpoints than what we have about how the airport's going, and we would love to discuss those with you guys anytime. My question for you guys would be, have any of you guys been out to the airport lately? Have any of you attended any of the airport board meetings to kind of come out and get some knowledge of what's going on, what we're talking about, how these things go in there? Gone out maybe toured some of the hangars, see what the runways look like. You guys know that BLM is going in out there as well. So there's a lot of really good moving pieces out there. The economic impact of the airport is reported every year, and if you haven't seen it, I would love to send that to you. You can see what the actual multi-million-dollar value of that airport is out there. But certainly with that growth is going to come people who are scared of the way that things are going, and they don't like the direction that they're going. Don't disregard those positions, but come out and see what's going on with your own eyes.
As far as the on-the-ground stuff, I appreciate the airport overlay discussion, but are you seeing anything out of place? Are there any rule violations happening on a regular basis? We're getting talked to about tie-down violations or gas prices, or 3 of the 4 of you are pilots, it sounds like, that fly into the airport on a regular basis, I hope. And don't sugarcoat it. Where are we at compared to everybody else of equal size and scope of an airport?
Did I understand you correctly? You received my email that I sent out about fuel and jet prices? So, I mean, that's hard data with where we are comparatively for fuel prices out there.
Could you say it for the public, though, like for everybody to hear it?
Sure.
I don't have it in front of you, but...
Yeah, just a quick synopsis. I pulled fuel prices from 32 comparable airports within 150 nautical miles of Mountain Municipal Airport, and I found that we are but we are definitely below the median, the average, and the mean price of fuel out there at $6.20. I think jet fuel, if I remember, was $6.25. And again, when you compare that to, of those 32 airports that I pulled, 17 of them also sold jet fuel. When you average those out, we find out we're below the average and we are below the median out there. So we're comparatively right where we're supposed to be. Also pulled numbers from the FAA's terminal area forecast, which is the official record of how many planes they're tracking at your base, to show that the number of aircraft that they're tracking with us has remained steady. We're not losing aircraft, and the number of operations out there has consistently been on par with every year afterwards. So we're not losing operations according to the FAA. Those are the 2 official sources.
Councilwoman Garvey.
Mayor, wasn't there an overlay almost done? I mean, I read a draft of it. I'm sure I have it saved somewhere.
We had worked on it with Brock and put some stuff, some proposals together, but I know as he turned out, I don't know where that got missed in handoff or anything like that. So we had sat down and had some conversations with Brock about what that would look like, but we never got a chance to present it as he moved out of that office.
Here.
Councilwoman Workla.
And then FAA, they came yesterday and did a spot check.
TSA.
TSA. And they create a report based on...
I've seen the preliminary report, and it was all positive. And I have it in my email. I got it after council had started, so but it was all positive.
And the things that it covers are...
I haven't read it.
Oh, okay. No, I'm sorry. I know. Okay, so maybe we can look at that.
Through, they said there were several things they highlighted as great things that we're doing out there, but I haven't been able to absorb it yet.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Like when you hear safety, right? I didn't know is that something that covers on that TSA report.
I will send it out. I haven't read it yet. Like I said, I got it right as we were starting. So.
In a nutshell, security at the airport is what they were looking at.
Is it security? Oh, okay.
Mayor.
Councilman Hartsham.
First of all, thank you for coming. I don't know if you've been alerted yet, but I somewhat volunteered to become the liaison to your committee.
Welcome.
A couple questions when it comes to when it comes to future growth of this town. There are things that move through the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council at a pretty considerably rapid rate at times. Right now, your body meets quarterly, which was reduced down from a monthly, I believe in 22, is that correct? Wanted to check kind of informally, I guess you do have kind of a quorum in this, so at a sense, this is an informal joint session. Appetite for going back to monthly meetings. There are a lot of things moving and shaking in this town, and I think this interaction has been very good. Thank you for sending real hard statistical data that you can reference. That's one of the key things that I was hoping to get out of this. When I look at the ordinance, it reads, "The airport committee shall have the duty and responsibility to suggest and make recommendations to the mayor, council, airport manager, FBO concerning the development, use, and management of the municipal airport." And I've been coming to city council meetings for a long time. If I wasn't here, I was listening to them on YouTube from my shop. And I sat on planning and zoning for nearly 2 years, and there were very few interactions with your committee. And that is one of the things that I hope just this interaction today can show, that like there's real hard data that comes from this. There's strong suggestion. I'm hoping to build more of a relationship between the committee and the expectation of the deliverables, the making suggestions, putting that in writing, perhaps making, joint sessions in the future with council. Want to kind of test your appetite for that and availability for that, knowing that you've stepped back from quarterly meetings from monthly meetings to quarterly meetings.
I can only speak for myself, but I know when we were doing monthly meetings, we were kind of getting bogged down in minutia, talking about tumbleweeds here or this, stuff like that, and it felt like it was a lot of little things that didn't really matter. Going to quarterly meetings felt like we were able to focus on the big issues and kind of comprehend those. I'm not opposed to going back to monthly meetings. We understand a lot of us have flying status or on flying occupations, and so our schedules lend to a lot of like night shifts, flying, things like that. I'm not opposed, but as somebody said before, one of the ways small airports dies is a refusal to try anything new. Going to quarterly meetings is a way to try things new and see if that allows us to focus in more on detail stuff. That's just my opinion on it. Gentlemen?
Yeah. It's some things the airport board is really good for, and some things it's really not designed for. So if it's in the air, that's really an FAA responsibility. I think the place where we really sort of get down to nuts and bolts is, like the overlay and protecting the overall environment for the airport moving forward. And obviously, as the environment changes and more commerce likes to come in, like FedEx, maybe UPS wants to compete with FedEx, then we're going to have probably more interactions. And if we need to have more meetings, we can have more meetings. We're not saying quarterly is the best we can do, but it's a demand thing, I think.
And I think
maybe every other month to be sort of the interim possibility.
And maybe there's a balance to be had there. One of the challenges that I think we see here is that just recently we saw a draft of the Airport Advisory Committee meeting minutes. Through the normal process, you would have your, say, January meeting, and then you'll meet again in May. Your meeting minutes that are ratified, that are capturing January, get ratified in May, and we might not see those for 6 months.
Right.
So it's a very sludgy back and forth process, and that's kind of my metering stick for wanting to at least see if you guys are open to the idea of having special meetings or a more frequent occurrence of meetings.
I guess on legal, is there any way for us to approve meeting minutes in a less formal approach?
Yes. If you just have one of you that's present. So you post a meeting, let's say you did it every other month, and then the succeeding months, you would have a telephonic meeting where only one of you would have to be there, just showing up, and then you would have everybody else call in and just say, convene, has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? Do I hear a motion to approve? I'll say aye, blah, blah, blah. Close the meeting. Thanks, everybody. Have a nice night.
Okay. We could do that.
Something, a format like that would be great. I think that gives us a lot more fluidity,
Adapt. I mean, it's-
a little faster, input to the council side to fulfill that recommendation. I would very much appreciate it if you adopted a process like that.
I think we could do that. That would be a good compromise.
Yeah.
We could do that.
Thank you.
And then if we need a special meeting, some hot project comes up, then, yeah, we're not averse to that at all.
Mayor.
Councilwoman Workla?
And then I also was told that they're going to be brought back here. They're going to be live streamed.
Yep.
So people will be able to view them the next day type thing. So that's good too for the transparency question, right? So,
Yep.
right, that's good. And then back to the executive session. What did you all think on that? I feel like a lot of this isn't pointing fingers at you three. It really isn't. So me personally, I would like to reappoint you. That I feel though it's pointing at the airport manager. So that's why I would like to have an executive session with him.
With the airport manager or with?
Airport. I'll also get council once. I was open to either, but.
So we don't have it on this as an executive. We have it for acquiring interest in real property. So are you wanting to do this on the, what's the next one, 26th?
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to?
Wow. Is this one getting canceled?
No.
Oh, it's not?
Not now, no.
Oh, okay. Sure, yes.
So, okay. Council, what's your thoughts? Councilman Brennan?
I wouldn't object to that, but since it sounds like you're okay just proceeding with this right here, right now, with what's in front of us,
Yeah, sure.
I have a couple more questions before we do that, and then we can schedule a meeting at a later time.
Okay.
So, just so I get my head wrapped around it, so you want an executive session for the airport manager?
I would, yes.
Okay, not the three guys up here.
So
you're good with the guys up here, since we're...
I'm good with the guys up here. Okay, yes, I'm good with the guys up here. I would like it, yes, with the airport manager. Now, if the rest of the council would like it with the airport advisory committee and the airport manager, I'm open to that as well.
Okay. So we're here to reappoint the three gentlemen currently up here. So let's start out with that. Does the council want to move forward with this, or do you want to still ask more questions, Councilman Brennan?
A couple more questions.
Okay, Councilman Brennan? Sorry, we'll come back. I'm not.
No, you're right.
Okay,
Can I say one thing real quick?
go ahead, Tim.
Mayor. Councilwoman Garvey, it appears that October of 21 in the airport minutes, they discussed it coming back to legal, and then there was like talk in January of 22, and then it dies.
Yeah, I read it. I have it somewhere.
Well, I just
important
I
files.
perused throughout the minutes, so it does.
It was pretty thorough. I thought it was a very good representation of an overlay that could be adapted. So maybe we can still take on that. Somebody's got to have the draft copy somewhere.
Well, look, I'll
no sense on reinventing the wheel.
Yeah,
It's the work's been
I have
done.
the email so I can shoot it back.
So, gentlemen, hang on one
And I'll
second.
look.
Let's
I'm just sorry. You were telling me it didn't
Councilman Brennan,
exist.
go ahead.
Yeah, one of the two things I was going to mention was my perspective from the overlay discussion. I was at the one meeting in here, and just to tell the rest of the folks on the council here is that the airport overlay discussion was, and I'm sure will again be met with, I would call it aggressive resistance. There's a Point Tarrant out here, right, who talks about land ownership or property ownership, and all those people that will put an overlay on will then be likely feeling like, the government is trouncing on their rights of land ownership. And then there's the city's responsibility to protect the airport too. So there's that happy medium. And I seem to remember that the discussion was here and there was an active decision to just table it and for an indefinite period, of which we're still in the indefinite period. That's a tough one, right? Because with any land use thing, we're going to probably take away somebody's private property rights to protect the city, but I guess that's our job, is to protect the city the best as possible. Finally, gentlemen, could you tell me a little bit about like what your attendance has been like while you've been serving on the board over the last couple of years? Maybe put it in a percentage as to the percentage of attendance, versus meetings held, how many, you've attended versus missed.
Well, each one of us separately, like attendance for the airport board meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, I was on the airport board in the beginning of 2021, I believe it was, and I've missed 2 meetings since then to the present time.
Okay.
I think I missed the last 3.
Last 3.
Yeah, dealing with some medical issues with my grandmother, my wife, and my daughter. So just spent this weekend in the hospital with my grandmother who had a stroke, and next weekend I get to take my daughter down for surgery in Salt Lake. So we've had a lot going on.
Sure. With those 3 concurrent 3 meetings in a row, have you done anything to catch back up or to talk to your committee or
read the minutes as they have gotten sent out? And then I've stopped and talked to the airport with Tom or with Ian, or seen Steve a couple times. Went out to the open house. Stuff was going on. So
thank you.
I can't say, probably 80%. I travel occasionally, and
80% attendance.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I end up I'm out there every other week or so.
Okay.
So oftentimes touching base with the airport manager and see what's going on.
Thank you.
So council, do you want to reappoint these guys today and then do a executive session, or do you want to wait for the executive session, do an executive session with the gentleman, or do you want to do an executive session on the 26th with the airport manager? Did I get that right?
I think you did.
Councilman Brennan.
I know I'm probably talking a lot and everybody wants me to probably shut up, but my request for tonight, I'm fine having an executive session with the airport manager. My request for tonight would be to send these gentlemen back to their seats and ask Ted Thompson if he'd be willing to take a few questions before we vote. That'd be my request.
Council, got any issues with that?
No.
Okay, gentlemen, I appreciate you volunteering your time and being here tonight.
Don't forget, if you do it, and then related to the conditional use permit. So you have that.
So Ted, are you willing to come up here and answer a few questions?
I did.
Come on up, sir. Councilman Brennan.
Ted, I don't want you to feel like you're forced to come up here. I'm going to put you on the hot seat, so you can turn back now if you'd like. You
I'm
okay?
happy to answer your questions.
He's already dealt with what's her name. He's fine.
Your time is up, Ted.
Time is up.
As long as nobody stand behind me, okay?
Make sure that doesn't happen, okay? As we've all alluded to, you've sent us a lot of information, a lot of complaints about the current airport. I'm struggling with it all, right? I'm trying to absolutely listen to what you're saying and read all the information, but the issues you're identifying with the airport, are they all brand new? Like, was everything perfect under your leadership as the airport manager?
Oh, I'm sure it wasn't. I'm sure I made errors. Did I get complaints? There was a complaint to the city council about driving traffic away with high-priced fuel and parking fees. Parking fees I had nothing to do with. I did set a fuel price. I came back to the city council with data that showed in the time frame that I had been the FPO, based on fuel sales, we doubled the traffic, doubled the fuel sales. Number of gallons. That's not dollars, that's gallons. So I had comments that said people coming from Nampa to buy gas on their way to Oshkosh because we were better priced than Nampa. So yes, there were complaints. There were some things that we put in, changed the gate code to get onto the flight line. I was concerned about flight safety of the fueling operations for firefighting airplanes, primarily. Had airplanes driving pretty much through the middle of that at times. So I asked with Richard Keating, can we change the gate combination so we'll limit that traffic? I got some pushback from some people on the Airport Advisory Committee. We went ahead and did that, and we also provided a path behind the hangars for traffic to get to the hangar row. They didn't have to drive down the middle of the taxiway or through the fueling operations. The one problem with that was there was a Quonset hut and one other hangar on the west side. There was no other access to that, so we had to allow people to go through that gate, and people were given the combination to make that happen. So yeah, there was an issue with that.
Could you tell me about your claims of discrimination happening at the airport?
Well, it's the lack of ability for some customers, some users, to use the indoor toilets and use the lounge area in the terminal building. I don't know why that was implemented, and that's pretty recent. That's kind of, I guess, kind of the straw that broke the camel's back as to what pushed all this up to the forefront. That's a discrimination. We've got people who are buying gas at the airport that can't go in that facility. The facility has less.
You say some people. Like, are we talking discrimination based on race, color, religion, national origin, sexual orientation, anything like that?
No, absolutely not.
Just some customers?
Some customers are not allowed to use it. And that's what I would consider an economic discrimination because, and it's users as well, not necessarily customers. That's one instance. The other instance was and this is probably more serious in my view, well, it is more serious in my view, was the airport's open house last spring. Two of the larger flying operations weren't included in that. One of them's a flight school, the other one's Civil Air Patrol. I discovered it through Facebook and managed to get a little bit of help, and we had an airplane set up and very nicely blocked from the traffic flow of people by the fire truck. It was nice to have it there. I have a nice picture of the airplane with the fire truck. But we didn't get any visitation, significant visitation. I don't think any of you people, any of the city people came to see us. So that was, in my view, discrimination against us. The other one is the American-made aviation flight school. They're flying a significant number of hours out there. They bought gas at the FBO. Were not included in any of the planning. Weren't even told about it. Had no opportunity to participate in that. That's economic discrimination. And the FAA doesn't allow that. The grant assurances specifically address economic discrimination.
Is there any, listening to, or maybe agreeing with Councilwoman Workla, it does sound like a lot of these issues might be a one-on-one issue between you and the manager. Are you having any issues with the advisory committee?
Well, there was an email sent to the mayor. It wasn't addressed to council or Mr. Curtis from the Airport Advisory Committee chair that accused me of colluding with Mr. Hibbard, the owner of American-made aviation. He had no idea I was going to talk at that city council meeting. And so what if we did talk? That sought to ban Mr. Hibbard from the Airport Advisory Committee, get him removed from it. Didn't have a courtesy of sending that to him, to Mr. Hibbard.
Mayor, who's the chair? I'm sorry.
Councilwoman Workla.
Who's the chair? Is it one of the three that are up?
Mr. Moorcott is the chair.
So it's not one of the three that are up for reappointment?
not
So
one of the
any
three.
issue with the three that are up for reappointment?
Personally, no. Mr. Lewis does great volunteer work in the city. Mr. Mulberry has a tremendous amount of experience in aviation, as he told you. And Mr. Buxton is a very knowledgeable engineer and certified flight instructor. So the problem I have is that in the last 4 years, this airport has decreased in its traffic load, it's decreased in its reputation. Hired a company, and I don't want to point names.
You don't have to say names, that's all right.
People on the advisory committee, research, recruited, helped to hire a company that failed, and neither the technical expertise or the financial capability to manage the airport. Stiffed the fuel supplier by not paying the bill for the fuel, and then said, I'm out of gas, I can't buy anymore. Imagine that, you stiff a fuel supplier. Asked to be let out of the contract in only 7 months. It's a 5-year contract, it was only 7 months. And then that contract was re-awarded without a bid.
Mr. Thompson, I'll tell you that I will personally commit to looking at the issues that you've talked about. I'm not speaking for anybody up here, right? I'll do my time in my time to look at those issues. For tonight, I'm going to move forward with appointing the Airport Advisory Committee members. That's the commitment I'll give you, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
Will you, council members, consider my proposal?
So that's not on the agenda, so you can talk to him offline, not up here, please.
I was not looking, I did not expect that would happen tonight because it's not on the agenda.
Copy that.
I understand that.
Okay.
So, perhaps that's a rhetorical question. Will you please?
All right. Thanks. Councilman Brennan.
Make a motion to reappoint A.J. Lewis to the Airport Advisory Committee.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey.
Aye.
Councilman Brennan.
Aye.
Councilman Workla.
Aye.
Councilman Harjo.
Aye.
Run down to action item number 2. Sorry, I forgot to do that. Action item number 1 we just did. Run down to action item number 2. Deliberation decision on reappointment of Steve Mulberry of the Airport Advisory Committee for a 4-year term to expire February 28.
Mayor.
Councilman Brennan.
Make a motion to reappoint Steve Mulberry to the Airport Advisory Committee.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Harjo.
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla.
Aye.
Councilman Brennan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey.
Aye.
Run down to action item number 3, deliberation decision on reappointment of Richard Buxton to the Airport Advisory Committee with a 4-year term expired of February 2028.
Mayor.
Councilman Brennan.
Make a motion to reappoint Richard Buxton to the Airport Advisory Committee.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey.
Aye.
Councilman Brennan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla.
Aye.
Sorry, Councilwoman Workla. Sorry.
Aye.
Councilman Harjo.
Aye.
All right.
You know, Mr. Buxton said he enjoyed talking about wastewater, so you probably should have taken that into account. Anybody who enjoys that, you gotta wonder.
All right, we'll run down to action item deliberation decision of the Mellon Water District land lease. How we doing?
Good, how are you?
Fantastic.
Well, I don't have a resume like Mr. Steve Mulberry, but my name's Erica, and I'm with, representing the Mellon Subdivision Water District. It's been a while since I've been up here, but just to give you a rundown of the status of the well, is that there is no well. It is unsalvageable, so we can't get it repaired or get a new motor or get it running. So that really sucks for us. But what we would like to do is know we can continue to lease the property and put in a new well. We know we've been pulling numbers, looking for grants. We've reached out, considered annexation. Nothing's really happened. We're just kind of gathering data, trying to find out what that would mean to the residents there. It also would affect the sewer district, so there's a lot of parties that are involved that could be affected by it, so we want to make sure we do the best for the whole community. We are working with the attorney Fisher, Julie Fisher from Nampa, and she's reaching out, gathering some information for us to help us make better decisions. So, can we continue to lease the property?
So, Paul, really quick, before I go to the council, sorry, the lease expired, oh gosh, a while ago.
This year, yeah.
So, is it a new contract? Do we do a whole new everything?
You can do it as yes, you could do it as an addendum if you wanted to, but there were so many things that were antiquated regarding that old contract that it would be better, especially if you have Ms. Fisher. Although that'll get confusing, Fisher, Fitzer. But it would be better just to start and do a new one and contemplate what you guys want to do.
Council, what y'all want to do?
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
Erica, do you have any inkling of a timeline of when the Mellon Water District would be able, both in function, financials, to drill a
It
new well?
depends. There's a lot of variables that goes with it. So we have considered a lot of things. So as a board, we've considered annexing, and then what does that mean and how much time that takes. And then if we don't know what to do with putting a new well in, because we don't know if we can still use the land. It's not ours, so we can't. If we can't use that property, we'd have to go either acquire a new property or try to lease it somewhere else within the district. So I don't know how long that would take. And then the cost to get our tanks, to cap the old well, to make sure that's closed and secure, and then putting in a new one. To put in a new well, cold steel drilling from Boise, they said is about 3 weeks. Like they would put in a new well, but we don't know where we are on their schedule, right? We really haven't. We'd have to get DEQ involved, Idaho Rural Water Association. Everybody's got to be involved, and I don't know where we would fall within their agenda. But once we would get that done, have the funding, I think it'd be a matter of about I would say 2 months to get the well up and running.
Understood. Thank you.
So, Erica, the DEQ, when you asked them, did they offer any assistance? Obviously for a loan.
Yes, there is a lot of opportunities, and a lot of them are gone too. So it's just the timing thing of we were kind of up in there. We didn't know is our well going to be able to be repaired, so we could buy a new motor, put a new pump.
Right.
But now it's about $300,000-$400,000. So we'd have to apply for loans, all of that, increase all of our fees to our residents to make sure we could sustain and cover it.
So council, are you guys willing to allow them to lease the ground back and do a whole new contract with new updated verbiage? Is that some, Councilman Harjo?
I think we should, I'll speak from my end of the dais. I think we have an obligation in terms of our commitment to community. There is no other option in the moment. If, granted, we've extended the existing lease for a period of time, drafting a new lease is great. However, in the interim, until they're able to, as a district, address this for themselves, I think it would be appropriate that we extend that contract to them. We can't have an entire portion of our community without water or struggling to find a new place to put a well. They have a lot of work to get done before they know where their commitment level is to drilling. I'd like to see us extend this, or offer a new contract, that is.
Okay. Councilman Brennan?
Erica, do I understand right that amongst all the options, the one you're leaning towards as a water district is to just redo a new well on the same piece of land and get water flow into the neighborhood?
I think it's an option. I don't know if it's the best option, because we don't know what it would mean if we were to annex. We don't know what that would do to the sewer district. We don't know what cost that would bring to the residents. Like, some people are, yes, this make it happen. The city's growing around us. If we don't apply to annex now, they're going to annex us in the future. Possibly not. We don't know. you know, and do we want to spend $400,000 or $500,000 on a well and the maintenance if we would be annexed in 5-10 years?
Right.
We don't know. So, I mean, honestly, I would like to have a conversation with you guys, possibly outside of the council meetings, and discuss different options. But we do know that a well is there. We want to pay, at least to continue to have access to the land and the services, because we know we owe that back to the city. You guys have been supporting us. That's the least we can do. This year we haven't paid anything. Last year we did pay, I believe, the lease. So we want to make sure at least, you know, we're rented or something to us in the meantime. But maybe it's one of the options. We don't know if it's the best option.
Your well driller, have they said that it's safe or doable to put another well on such a small piece of
It
ground?
has to be 25 feet away from the current well.
Do you have that space there for,
I honestly don't know.
I didn't think it was that big a piece of ground.
No, they'll have to adjust the fence line.
Just a fence line. Okay. And Paul, could you give me a real quick Cliff Notes as for a little neighborhood like this outside the municipal boundary, as far as annexation goes? There's 2 types of annexation, or is there more? Where
Three.
Like Erica and the board members, I'm imagining don't have control over the residents annexing. It would be an individual decision, and in the city's best interest, we probably would not do you yes, you no, you know, like for the city's best interest, it would be one big grab, right?
Yeah. Yes. It's not without its hoops to jump through, of which you'll be like, if you don't drink, you'll start, kind of thing for you. But there's Category A, Category B, and Category C annexations. This would probably be in the neighborhood of a Category B, depending on how many properties it is, I don't know. But there's an implied consent to annex requesting upon receiving municipal services. And so that would be one of the ways that that we would do that, is to annex them in. The cleanest, easiest way is basically the status quo, which is to not annex them. They're still an extraterritorial customer, which is perfectly legal. The lease is going to be, you know, what's first, the horse or the cart? Julie and I can't write the lease without knowing what your funding mechanism is going to be, because if you obtain a grant and then there's a repayment on, for example, a loan or something like that effect, they won't loan it to you unless you have guaranteed that you have a lease for the land that's going to be on, and so that'll whatever that term is going to dictate the term of the lease.
Absolutely.
So there's that to jump through. But if you wanted to play the annexation route, that's fine as well. You're going to have a dual, again, part of your fund, you'll have a dual situation because they are in the West Side Sewer District, and they do not lose their jurisdiction merely because they annex into the city. So you'll have they'll be within the city, but within both the city water system, but then the West Side Sewer District under their jurisdiction for the sewer. So it still does create. This is not rocket science. We're not recreating the wheel. This has been done in lots and lots of places, lots and lots of times, even in my experience. But it would probably be in the nature of a large Cat B annexation, and it would be based upon their consent to receive services.
Okay. So is it 25 feet from the current well, not the building, but the well, right?
Yeah.
You got plenty of space in there to stay in the lot.
Okay.
I mean, I just did a quick Google measurement, you know what I mean? They got 50 feet.
That's a wide angle lens. I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, and I don't know if there's an option where we continue to purchase the water from the city. I don't know if that's even an option either.
Mayor.
Councilwoman Workla?
I'm sorry, what do you mean when you said last year we didn't pay anything and this year we did? What does that mean?
When their system goes down.
Their land lease.
You didn't pay your land lease last year?
We paid our land lease. It ended last year.
Yes.
This year we haven't been billed for a new lease.
Oh, okay. Because
we don't know, right? Because it's over. Like we'd take another 30-year lease any day, but that's why we're here.
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo.
could we ask Brenda into the room? I know she's kind of off in the wings. In terms of helping from the city's perspective, and Chris, if you can help with this as well, if you can help the Mellon Water District understand just at the skim surface level of obligation if an annexation is desired, what those properties are obligated to do to conform within the city.
We have had a conversation with the Mellon Water District. Tiffany, Chris, and myself, and Paul was involved in that, so they are aware of the what would need to happen with regards to annexation. As far as putting in possibly all the new meters, all the new water lines. So there were many things that we had discussed, and they're aware of what may need to take place. And then also upon annexation that they would be required to follow city code. But we could also do some form of annexation agreement, with regards and see how we can work with them in regards to that. I assume with a time frame.
Thank you, three, for working with them already. I wasn't fully aware of that, so I appreciate it.
Fair. Are you done, Councilman?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Paul, do annexation fees change depending on the category type? Or is there any legal authority to change the fees?
Well, you always have the legal authority to, whatever they're set by ordinance is whatever they are. I don't know what it is. But you could always waive the fees. There's all kinds of things that you can do. Yeah, you can play with it. The big, the hurdle of why Erica does not want to be annexed is, it's not just the well. The trick of, because once they are annexed into the city, depending on this annexation agreement, if we were to do that, there would be some sort of table or timeline, because then we're responsible for all their sewer lines. Water lines, sewer lines. And it's substandard. It does not rise to the level of the city. So the real challenge here is, at some point they're going to have to bite the bullet, and I'm sure they don't want to be doing the well and an entire system in one fell swoop. That's part of the funding of what you guys discuss. So if I were advising them, which I'm not, but if I was, I would be like, oh gosh, just try to just replace your well. I mean, look at what it would cost you to join the system and forget the well, and then upgrade just your infrastructure around the neighborhood. Compare that price to a new well, push the whole system, the substructure, down the road a little bit, knowing you're eventually going to have to bite the bullet on that one too, and then just see if you can replace the well and then not join the city. And there's a cost balance here. What would be awful is if they did the well. If they're talking about doing the well, they do not want to annex, because what do you need a well for at that point? If you forego the well, now what is the cost between doing the well versus doing the pipes and upgrading all that? Then you would want to annex into the city, and then now you're out of the game, and you don't have to worry about freaking water and all that. The city would be upgrading, and the city would be repairing it, all those things, and you don't need a well anymore. But you got to balance those costs, and what are the grants that you're going to get to be able to do that? And so it sounds like what they're saying is that the well is going to be their best option, knowing that they're just kicking the can down the road a little bit for when that infrastructure in there fails. We as the city, back to being the city, we as a city, we don't want it. We don't want a substandard, because we don't want the rest of the taxpayers to have to pay for a substandard infrastructure system, because we don't want to just take them in and then be forced to repair that. So why would we annex them in? The condition, where everybody talks about annexation agreements, what's in line 2 is that they would have to conform to current municipal standards for, all of the meter. I mean, the meters themselves have got to cost a whole pretty penny.
$50,000.
Yeah, and so they don't I mean, you're being very politically diplomatic, and I commend you for that. But just on her behalf, she don't want to join the city if it means that they have to bring everything up to speed. They probably.
We want to join the city, and then the city brings it up to speed.
Touche.
Sidewalks, curb gutter, asphalt.
Touche.
We will, there's a price tag though.
Yeah. That is a huge pill to swallow, and it sounds like what they want is to upgrade their well and then go merrily on. And it would, and just so for those of you who are against this, and I usually am, but the funding mechanism to get it, they're going to want to have they have to have a lease, and so it'll be another long-term lease in order to pay for that well over time. They're not going to allow the city to cancel the lease that this well is going on before it's paid for.
So, sorry, hang on one second. How does then, we give them the lease, do they not, how do they get around the non-appropriation clause?
I'm sorry, what's?
Like, never indebting a future council into a, obviously we're.
The non-appropriation clause doesn't apply to when we are the lessor and we want to lease property. There's all kinds, I hate them.
Right.
You know that I'm on record always of long-term, I love you airport people, but I hate long-term hangers. I despise long-term leases where we're binding city councils 30 years from now and they're paying $1 a month, for something. And then, of course, with inflation, it's the rest of the citizenry is being ripped off because we gave somebody a lease in 1985. So I despise those. However, the exception is when somebody builds a hangar, they want a return on that investment. I get that. Or when they have to get funding, especially governmental funding, to do it, it has to be a long-term lease, and I acknowledge that.
Council, one more, sorry.
Yeah, no, so that was kind of my question was, with the long-term lease, like, do you have the money? Like, how are you going to get the money for it? I mean, I'm new to this whole project.
Well, we would have to get funding. We'd have to get loans, either through the state or apply for grants.
Are you looking at that? I mean, this has been an ongoing issue, so that's what I'm just wondering.
Tickets, like whatever we need to make it happen. But we do currently the water district is profitable. We've been able to save money. We've replaced our pumps and like 3 times already since I've been on the board because of all the sediments getting through. So we've been able to pay and replace them without having to increase the fees of the residents. However, if we do get a loan, we know we would have to increase the fees because we pay $45 a month, and we'd have to do about 60, 65, so that we could pay back. But we do guard the money that comes in, and we spend it.
Sure.
But because we're trying to make sure that we can. The whole point of the board is to make sure that we have funds to help sustain it and keep it going long term.
So what I'm hearing, that's to patch it, but if you need a whole new well, how are you going to go about, I guess is my question, to get those funds? I mean,
you got to apply for a loan.
Grants.
And
then federal loans. They are governmental entities, so they can do it.
Yeah, sure. And I was just wondering if that's something you've looked into?
We've looked into it, but because we didn't know what we were going to do, we didn't know, do we apply for it? And we don't have all the information they need. Now we've gathered more information and we can start applying for them, but they're hit and miss throughout the year. I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you. There's one up due next week. I don't know.
So they'll need the approval of the council to lease the land as a part of that, as Paul said, they need the approval from the council, say, yep, they have the land. That's part of the, like say it's a DEQ grant or whatever, I know you have to have the land, so that's probably what they're here asking.
Yeah, here's what Erica wants to know. If they're going to go the well route, are you amenable to doing a long-term lease, again, on the land, even if we don't annex? First question. Second question, and then the exchange of information, because if I were then asking on their behalf, I would say, well, pun intended, what is your options of upgrading your infrastructure and then annexing and joining the system and being part of the water system, and you never have to do the well, versus doing the well, what's that going to cost your customers?
And,
kind of thing.
And glad you asked the question, because we have had some people from DEQ and Idaho Rural come and look at our infrastructure, and they're inspecting it, they're looking at it, they said it's good. I mean, really, our area is no more than 30 years old, about 30, 40 years old, so we have newer pipes after 1980, from what I heard, so we don't have to worry about that. And so we're in good condition. As far as I know right now, yes, we would have to replace them. That's all part of, what comes with the territory, having to look into all of that.
They'll have to show profit and loss, and then they'll have to show also, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're upping the fees to make up for the loan.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo.
Paul, is in this possible lease agreement between Mellon and the city, if Mellon decides in 10 years to change course and they need to annex, and we've, say, drafted a contract for 30 years, do we have language that we can insert into that contract that gives some severability to the lease that's like no longer necessary?
I wouldn't put it in that. I wouldn't put it in that agreement.
Okay.
That's for future board members and city council members to decide. Where that would come into play is on the other side, is if they were going to annex into the city, but they have whatever dollars they have in their pockets now, and then whatever loan they can get, and the annexation agreement, because our ordinance requires it, but our annexation agreement would say over the course of X number of years from whatever the loan is, they're going to slowly transition into our system, where they would pay, not the rest of the citizenry, they would pay to upgrade their system to the city standards. They would forego the well, they would join our system so that they don't have to bite the bullet, all of it, in one swoop. And it would be an annexation agreement where they would kind of they would be replacing their infrastructure over time on their dime, and then the district would stay in existence until such time as it's been upgraded. That would be how you would do it in 10 years. Over the course of these years, they would become part of the city right away. They wouldn't need the well anymore, and they'd be joining our system right then and there. But we would not place on the rest of the taxpayers the burden of upgrading their infrastructure. And so there would be some sort of requirement that as the pipes fail, you would replace it with your dollars to the current standards and the meters and all this stuff. Like, that would have to be paid for in a different way. The only problem with that is it's a little harder on getting grants and funding going that route, I suspect. Whereas building a well or whatever. But if they build a well and they spend all that money on that well and they have to pay for it over the course of 10, 20, 30 years, no, in 10 years they're not joining us.
That was going to be my...
There's no way they would financially, that would be... we're writing our name in the sand now for 20, 30 years of the lifespan of that well, basically.
That was going to be my next question in terms of like your experience in typical duration of a lease of this manner, experience, and maybe this is also for Chris and Tiff, experience in when it comes to this type of like loans, grants, like the duration of time, from fresh start through its sunset and where the loan is paid off. Experience, like, is that 20 years? Is that 30 years? Is that completely dependent on the financial situation of that
if
network?
They turn into an enclave, let's say, an enclave is when you're completely surrounded by the city on all sides. And then there's other services that they need. Let's say the West Side Sewer District, decides to go defunct or something like that. And they truly need all of our services to process their waste and provide their water and all those things. What normally we would do in an annexation agreement is, upon the failure of your, I know you're not septic, but upon the failure of your septic or upon the failure of your well, you shall upgrade to city standards at that time. So we still we'd annex you in, but we wouldn't say, here's your whatever $100,000 bill. we would say at the such time you will upgrade and then join at that time. So that's what those annexation agreements are for.
Okay, I appreciate that. In terms of the length of this lease, I guess point blank is if Mellon Water District chooses to go the route of drilling their own well, they need a lease that reflects how long.
They will not get the funding unless they have the ground secured of where the well is going to go.
And typically, do you know the duration of what?
Depends on how much.
Like the required duration for that lease?
30 years,
Yeah.
30?
20, 30, yeah.
Okay.
Like a mortgage, you know?
Right, I mean, that's kind of my default is that like 30-year range, but
I mean, it could be 10, 15, some of them are shorter. It depends on how expensive the well is.
Absolutely.
So, council, I'm just throwing this out, you're wanting to release the land?
Yes, I believe that was also kind of what was last year where we stood, depending on what the status of the well was, what we would move forward with the city.
So council, what do you want to do?
What I would ask you guys is, I think, for you guys, you want to informally say, yes, this is something we're open for, or no, absolutely not, you're annexing in whatever. But if you're open to it, then you ask Erica now to go back to her board and say, okay, they will lease this to us, for whatever the time it takes for our funding. They're open to that. They haven't voted yes yet, but they've said that they're going to do that. What do you guys want to do? Do you guys want to annex and then upgrade our infrastructure, or do you guys want to do the well and stay and go that route? And then they got that vote, and then if they say, yeah, we want to do the long-term lease, then we approve it. Now you are boots on ground running to get your funding.
Absolutely.
Okay, Councilman Brennan.
I'm kind of with Councilman Harjo to a certain extent, is that I want to be a good neighbor and I want to make sure you have water, right? But I'm also hesitant about just another well, because you are going to become an enclave if you're not already. Like, you're going to be surrounded by city, and that's not the best. That's not in the best interest of the city long term. The best interest of the city may be to continue giving you water, for now, but I don't see how you don't annex eventually within the next 30 years. So I think this is like reasonable for a meeting all on its own. But I'd like to find a middle ground there where maybe, I don't know what it looks like, we continue to rent you water at an exponentially higher rate than the city residents pay. And in that meantime, your neighborhood is upgrading the services. And when you're upgraded, then it's a class whatever annexation for the whole neighborhood, and you're in. You give time to upgrade the system, but it's not at our city residents' expense, because you're going to pay more than everybody else. That's my thought. So I want you to have water, but I don't know that a well for you is in our best interest long term. That's where I'm at.
Okay. Any other council? So I guess, what do we want? Do you want her to go back and say, hey, the city is interested in the long-term lease of the ground? And that she needs direction.
Yeah.
Well, she's dead in the water until you guys say it would.
So Tiff, you have 2 cents?
I'm sorry.
My only thought
I didn't
is,
mean that one.
what's the amount above what a current resident pays? What percentage is that?
It's almost always 1.5 in every extraterritorial market. Every ordinance I've ever seen, it's always 1.5.
There you go.
Changes annually when we make our rate change.
Yeah.
If we do that.
Because if we're providing water service to an extraterritorial customer, look at the developers going, because what is the one thing you put as a condition of approval on everything that you do, if we have the water? Right. And so to the extent that you're giving water service to somebody that's not in the city, that's eventually there's a bad pun there, but I won't do it. But eventually you're going to run out of water. It's not as bad as how it's perceived in the public, I know that, but it is an issue.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Garvey.
Obviously, Erica, you have to have water. We recognize that. My quick thinking is the planning aspect of this. Do we have enough money to drill their well, to build their sidewalks? I mean, that's going to impact us financially as well. And so I worry that we annex you in and we only have this much money to play with as well. And so, you know, how are we going to pay for the well or the infrastructure? I know that they'll be paying hookup fees, but those hookup fees are quite expensive if you annex in.
And I mean, couldn't you keep the infrastructure that's there now?
We don't know if they're up to city standards.
I highly doubt it.
We know the meters aren't for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And Mayor, if you do you mind?
Go ahead.
So typically in an annexation agreement, we wouldn't be on the hook to do curb, gutter, sidewalk, all that. That would be on them to provide that cost before. Just like what we're doing with the trailer park that's out on Air Base Road. They still are not annexed, even though this body approved that annexation a couple of years ago, because they haven't met all the requirements for their water upgrade, their streets, that kind of thing. So it would be the same. It would be on them, not on the city.
The only time a city ever eats that is when you're bringing Micron technology into town, you know.
Right, and then we'll improve it, like City Drive. Yeah.
And that's one of the worries we have for the residents there, because it is a very low income area.
Okay, council. You've heard her plight. What do y'all want to do?
Mayor?
Councilwoman Garvey.
I would like to just extend the lease for them for right now and give some direction of where to go. Then they can start working on their end. Do we need a definite date? Do we have?
Like,
What do you mean definitely?
20 years, 10 years, what?
You don't know yet.
Okay.
Just whatever
All I
DQ
would
tells
like
us.
All I would like you
find
guys to do is
information.
give her direction to say, okay, we can go find out what the grant terms are going to be, which would then give Julie and myself the ability to type up that lease. But if it's something you're gonna vote no on later, she needs to know that.
So is that a motion, Ms. Councilwoman Garvey?
Oh, I will make a motion to approve the lease with Mellon Water District so that they can go forward in planning.
Second. Okay, it's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Mayor, I'm gonna vote aye with the contingency on there that basically what he's saying is I'll go along with this for now so you guys can get some planning in with no promise that I'll vote yes to a lease. Because I don't think that's in the city's best interest long-term. So I'm not saying what I will do then, but I'm not promising that, you know, that I'll go along with that. So that's kind of where I'm at now.
And just so you know, your action item that you just voted on, you didn't vote to approve the lease,
Right.
because there is no lease.
Right. We
You
agreed to-
voted on the giving guidance that you, it's like a, it's the equivalent of a letter of good faith, is what we use in the industry.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Workla?
so if there is no lease, the lease expires, who's paying for the water now?
They're paying the city.
They're paying the city? Okay, so you're still paying the city?
We've been paying the city,
Okay,
yes.
I'm just, okay, like, there's no free water
we're
going
in
out?
this
All right.
Weird abeyance.
Okay,
Okay, so you got your marching orders, okay?
All right.
All right, and then will you have, do you have another meeting with your board before the next meeting to
We
tell
will
us?
have one. We've been having them about every week, so absolutely.
Can you make the next meeting to give us an update and then tell us what DEQ or whatever loan grant you,
Okay.
what they say, to that way you can bring it back to, well, just get it to TIF, I guess, and that way this body can.
Okay,
Yeah, we just
absolutely.
need to know what to type.
Yes. Do you have a card?
I do, but not with me, I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Okay, thanks, Erica.
Thank you.
Alrighty, we're gonna run down to new business, items removed from the consent agenda. Item F, and I'll let Councilman Brennan take that one. Item F, what is item F?
Oh man, I forgot about these already.
You just completely removed. What?
Oh, the museum, okay.
All right.
Yeah.
It's full.
Very good. Nuclear.
Item F, yes.
Has to go down,
right?
F.
Yes, F.
I was out of the group.
Sorry, I'm just letting them talk. The request is for the city to purchase 2 computers for the museum. I've got a couple concerns about this. I think Chris is sitting in the back there. If you want to come forward, you're welcome to. I won't make you by any means. Going along with the current trend of the council is to make sure we spend money in accordance with how the lines are justified or written. The city is not responsible for the operation of the museum. We're responsible for the building and keeping up the roof and the walls and all that. Is that right? And so the line item that we're asking money out, or for, that you're asking for money from, is for maintenance, the building maintenance. Am I right on that?
Yes.
So it's in going with our trend of how we've been moving forward, I find it hard to approve computer purchases for a non-city, I hate to say that, I hope you can like
No, I understand.
distinguish my words probably better than I can say them. But the operation is not what we funded money for, is for the building.
Correct.
So I'm hard set to approve that request.
Okay.
Do you have any argument to that or anything to sway me?
No, I mean, I understand exactly. I mean, you're doing your job. I mean, that's exactly, it is a maintenance and repair. In the past, we haven't used a lot of it, so that's why we kind of thought that maybe, you know, we do other things, like we're buying a monitor for water detection in the basement and stuff, and we're paying for that. So we haven't used it in the past. We've been pretty frugal with our money with that $5,000. You guys do give us repair and maintenance, but I understand totally where you're coming from.
What was the cost again? I don't have the memo in front of me. I do, but it's buried.
$869.
$869.
And we also are using your IET guy. He's installing them and stuff, so, and we need Wi-Fi for the monitor for our water detection thing, so he's providing services for that, so I mean, we don't have a problem with it.
Sure. I would,
We're just trying to come up with money wherever we can.
I'm definitely not speaking for anybody else up here, but if you were willing to go down the road of a fundraiser, I'd be happy to donate to the cause. But I'm not going to vote to expend the city money on that.
Sure, not a problem.
Yeah.
This is just my 2 cents. We do have memos from other. Okay, I guess I see where it's coming from now. I'm trying to help you out, Chris.
Okay.
We do allocate other line items with a memo, which you have provided. So if it's $800 out of the 5,000, I'm just telling you, I have no problem with it, because we do allow other departments with a memo, the new memo system we've done to do it. So I don't have a problem with it. That's just my 2 cents. Councilwoman Warfel?
Yes, thank you. It's Brian, right? Yes. Brian, can you explain what's going on with the computers, the old computers?
Yes, Councilwoman. The old computers are very, very, very old. Like, there's not a better way. They belong in a museum. They're old enough that when Windows 10 stops being supported, they won't be able to run Windows 11. They don't run well, and just in general, a new computer is a good idea. I'm not sure that there's anything physically wrong with the computers at the moment, aside from they are incredibly slow, but they're incredibly slow.
Like AOL, like slow.
Yeah, they definitely belong with AOL.
And dial-up.
Okay. And yes, so yes, this is money that is line item within the museum budget. You're just asking to pull it from one line item to another. I've seen that happen with recently the parks department. So it happens. Understanding that you think they need one, yes, yes. $869 out of $5,000. I'm for it. I'm for it.
There. Councilman Harjo?
Chris, do you have any other expected expenses out of this budget that would eat into that $5,000?
There's always a possibility. I mean, we
I
have an
mean,
old
granted, like,
building that is,
you know.
yeah, we have an old building, where, in fact, I was just looking at it when last week, I mean, we need to put some kind of a gutter system in because it's coming down on the columns and it's breaking the columns off. But, you know, it's an old building. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, we did a roof before. The city did a roof before. We have, you know, just as you look around and go, oh, I mean, we have asbestos. When you talk about asbestos, that whole thing is asbestos. But I mean, years ago, we talked to like B-Transfer to come and move everything out to take that asbestos out, and it's way too costly. But it's going to come at some time. Because tiles, if you move anything, the tile goes away.
Councilman Brennan.
Can I just make sure, help me understand, who's the owner, the deed holder of the building?
City of
Sitting at home. So like, I would argue the mayor's point, right, is that the inner line transfers like the police department did earlier is for another city taxpayer funded issue, right? And I feel like I'm being a real big jerk right now. I'm sorry. But a transfer of something going to not a city, it's a donation, right? I mean, really, the city donating $5,000. It's not, we're giving $5,000 for our building, for the maintenance of our building. But to then transfer that money to a private organization, I don't think that's what we're supposed to do with the city
Well, you're
taxpayer
not
funds.
donating the money. If we use it, then we bring it and you guys pay for whatever that is. But it's not, I mean, we don't just get $5,000 to use.
Sure, sorry. For the building, though, the $5,000 is for the building.
It's for maintenance and repairs of the building.
That the city owns.
Yes, but
Okay.
you guys don't cut us a check for that. If there's any bills or anything, we bring it to Paula and then she pays it from that.
So are those?
Now, you do give us a donation type of thing of $7,000 this last year for, I don't know what you call it, Tiffany. Museum,
programming.
yeah, contributions.
Yes.
So will those computers remain as city assets? So they're city assets? Like you get to borrow the city asset? Is that what they are? I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
I don't know.
Tiffany, what are they?
Mayor, that
You can have the old ones too.
You keep those.
They belong in the museum, Chris. Mayor, that was my intention. If this was approved, the admin budget, which is where this line sits of the 5,000, would pay for the two computers. We would tag them as city assets. Our IT staff would oversee and monitor them. They would be somewhat on our network. And that's how I didn't see we were going to they would use them, but that's no.
So is it coming out of the $7,000?
No, it's coming out of the maintenance 5,000 line. That was in the memo. But they would be our equipment. We made the purchase, we tag them as our assets, and we oversee the maintenance on them. They just happen to sit at them and type and use it to write historical memos.
Well, way to go, Tiff. That sounds good.
Calendars.
And what's the $7,000 for?
That's what you allocate annually. They're the same as Domestic Violence Council. That's their
To use
$7,000.
at their discretion.
Correct, for their programming.
And staff.
And what we use
Staff.
that is for director, yes.
So,
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey.
I would like to approve the request to purchase 2 computers for the museum from the $5,000 of building and maintenance money.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan? Okay, Councilman Harjo?
Why you gotta do that? I was gonna do that. Aye, on the condition that they get tagged and that they are officially known as city property.
Councilman Brennan?
I made my stand early. I'm gonna look bad if I don't hold to that. Man, it's tagged as our property. We're not gonna take it back and be like, hey, the police department's down a computer. We're gonna borrow that back. Like, it's. Oh man. I'll give you a donation if you need it later. Nay.
I'll give you a donation of some old computer.
All right. Run down to action. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Run down to action item, new business number 2, deliberation decision on planning and zoning commission recommendation of findings of facts to amend the existing conditional use permit for an off-premise sign located at 404 North Main Street with conditions requested by Ron Cox. Council, what do you want to do? Councilwoman Garvey?
Maybe this is Brenda, Ron, I don't know, I know you're in here.
Ron somewhere, yeah.
What exactly, where is this going to go? It's kind of vague on here.
So it's going in the window below the 2 existing signs.
I'm okay with it. I have nothing else to add.
Council?
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
I'm not sure where to start on this one, but Ron, I reviewed the meeting, the live video that came from your original conditional use permit request, of which you talked about there was not, going to be like a digital display board. I might be using the wrong exact language. And our city prosecutor, acting as the city attorney in that meeting, specifically said out loud in the meeting that a board style in which you've installed already will cause distractions to traffic and a danger to the crosswalk.
Okay, so.
No, not you. It was Jeff.
Okay, so that was previous, and that's why we're doing the amendment. And the reason that it has been installed was because there was misunderstanding. I had reached out and was told that the permit was not needed, but there was a misunderstanding as to a building permit was not needed, but a conditional use permit was, and so then the sign was purchased and installed. But I guess my confusion on your point is, how is my sign any more distraction to a crosswalk than the city's sign?
Right, and I think it comes down to the process of which, the council had a lot of testimony and a lot of thought, voted on it, got ITD approval on that. I guess that's how I would answer that. You're in a C2 zone, right?
That's correct. He is in C2.
So what does the C2 ordinance read specifically for off-premise, digital signs?
The conditional use permit is required. However, the general provisions and requirements of the sign code does allow us for message center signs and animated signs.
Okay. And so why did we go with an amendment rather than a new permit?
Because he already has a conditional use permit and he's adding to it.
I feel like they're two totally different things, though.
They're both off-premise signs, and they would both be treated as such.
Can I ask a question real quick? Yeah. Why are they off-premise signs if they're on his premise?
Because the business that they're promoting is not on his premise.
Oh, touche.
So it's advertising.
So that was just advertising my business, then I wouldn't need.
Correct.
Correct.
Right, makes sense.
You could have a message center sign there, and it would be permitted.
Mayor.
Council?
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
I think it's important to remember from the sign regulation use chart, the off-premise sign is the only aspect of the conditional use permit that is the only reason that we need a conditional use permit, or Mr. Cox needs it in this sense, is because he's advertising those off-sites. Everything else in terms of height, the number of signs, illumination standard, clearance, and that kind of stuff falls back to the C2 zone chart. So where we have, Brenda, if you could help me out on this one, it's not a projecting sign, it's not an alley fascia sign, it's not freestanding on a pole, it's not a monument. Directional business sign is not necessarily it either. We're not pointing a business, pointing traffic towards another business. Can you help me out and help me understand which?
He is essentially an off-premise sign. That is his classification as signage.
So that being understood, and the reason that we need the conditional use, but like this is that like roundy round of the sign use chart in C2. If you were under illumination for off-premise sign, it states NA, and so in that you default back to what the if we were to grant the CUP, then the regulation on like illumination falls back to an on-premise sign. Is that correct?
Well, what it would refer to would be 9-13-6, the general provisions under in message center and animated signs, where it does give some guidelines for a message center sign, such as the message is like 1 second. Do you know how often your message changes?
Every 6 seconds.
Every 6 seconds, and I think the code requires every second. I'd have to.
I think it's 8 seconds in duration and 2 second delay between, if I recall. Go back and look here.
Let me look here at this just a moment. So word messages shall not have a change frequency less than 1 second per frame.
Under that same, sorry, Mayor. Go ahead. Under that same provision, a couple things. The sign permit shall not be issued to erect or place an animated sign on a property until a site plan is approved by the city, which is one aspect of, we had the confusion. I just want to make sure that that aspect is understood amongst council. N-3A, the location and placement of the sign. This is, again, under section N. The location and placement of the sign will not endanger motorists or pedestrians and does not cause undue distraction to traffic on the adjacent street. And that is expressly what Jeff Schroeder was referring to back in June of 22 when we had the first discussion about the two static signs. He said essentially that twice in two different ways. Location and placement will not endanger, and said animated signs, this is where the planning and zoning body was trying to understand if there was contemplation on illumination of those two previous signs, and he went on to say that which is not being contemplated by the applicant, which would be basically a giant TV screen that would be considered a distraction, and the animated sign restrictions cover that. So this is the part where I go, is our legal counsel's observance then still valid now?
So can I ask, if my sign doesn't follow ordinances, does that mean you guys are taking down your sign as well?
No decision's been made, right? And this is the part where, like, I want to make sure that we're...
Because mine is farther away from the street than yours, smaller than yours, and it's inside of a building.
Much brighter than ours.
The same brightness. They're both bright.
I would disagree with you.
Okay, well, I can turn mine down if that's what you need me to do.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask a question?
Go ahead. Yep.
But for, is every aspect of that sign an allowed use in a C2 zone, but for the fact that he's advertising someone else's business?
As long as he meets the requirements of a messaging center sign, or the messaging center and animated signs. And it does say they are permissible.
Okay. So in that regard, I guess I somewhat disagree with the opinion of before. So if the only distinction with brightness and blah, 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 is it's all, if it all would be allowed in a C2 zone, but for the message.
It does also say undue distraction, but what would the definition of an undue distraction be?
And is that tied to the message?
That is tied to the message, yeah.
Okay.
So council, what do you want to do?
Mayor,
Councilman Brennan.
I also like to address the decision and recommendation comments from planning and zoning, where it talks about the general standards applicable to all conditional uses and found the following, that, and I'll say this first and I'll tell you why I'm saying it afterwards, is that subsection C, the request will not result in destruction, loss, or damage of the scenic features of a city gateway roadway. And I just 100% disagree with that statement, because not this council, I don't think any of the others other than myself were seated at the time where we have requests for, a small billboard that came, and it was an off-premise sign. And at that time, the council, don't quote me, but I feel like it was a unanimous decision to deny a billboard application because of basically the gateway roads, the main corridors of our town becoming a distraction of, we'll call them the off-premise sign, advertising for something that's not your business on that property. And I don't want to see a precedent set of every business on our main corridors advertising to the street frontage with a giant LCD screen that, in the fog looks like a police car flashing at you. So I fully disagree that it doesn't damage the scenic features of a city gateway roadway. To me, I feel like I have to hold my ground and say, like, where do we draw the line? Where, if we approve one, is the neighbor next to you going to put one in? Is, the person on the next block going to put one in? And that's not what I want for the city of Mountain Home.
Okay, so, because if I was to advertise my business alone on there would be no reason why I could not. So.
I haven't fully studied that part of the ordinance, but go ahead.
Okay, well, as what was questioned was, does it meet all the ordinances of a C2 zone, or whatever it's called? And the answer was, it just doesn't. It needs the permit only for the conditional use permit of an off-premise sign. So if I was to advertise my business, then it meets all the requirements of the ordinance for my zone. And so then, like, I could continue to keep that sign there and just advertise Cox Signs on it. So
your business is not at that location, so.
Well, it will be shortly.
Right, and at that time would be impermissible. Yes.
But what I'm saying is that the city is in need of opportunities for businesses to advertise themselves, and it makes good economic sense for businesses to be able to advertise themselves, or for political candidates such as yourself to be able to advertise themselves. And it makes a great location for them to do that at an affordable price, and gives them that opportunity where, there's many opportunities that are going away, like the Wells Fargo drive-through. They closed down the drive-through. Those advertising spaces are really not as useful as they used to be. So it makes a great, and that's what we're all about, is helping the economics of the city. And so I'm interested in, any feedback. Need me to turn the lights down some, whatever, we can make that happen. But I'd appreciate to be able to help businesses advertise. And I would have to say, if mine's not allowed, then, is the city's allowed? because, you know, it's on the same corridor, and it's the same scenic.
And
Oh, sorry.
I don't think the city is advertising for, although it's not like our commercial building right there, but I think the city is advertising for city public events.
Right.
We're not advertising for businesses to make money with.
Right, which is how mine is different from yours, is that I'm sure there's lots of businesses who would really like to be advertising on your sign, and they can't, so I offer them that opportunity.
Councilman Harjo?
Forgive me for 1 second. I thought I had, oh, here it is. A couple quick things to recognize for decision-making as well. ITD also has to give an approval, the timing of which the city has to approve any highway-adjacent sign. That process in reference to the last sign, we do have the ITD approval letter and Mr. Cox's application from the outdoor advertising sign application to ITD dated 9/14 of '22. This comes after a city council, planning and zoning, and then subsequently city council approval. So there is still another state in which this has to receive an approval. They have 180 days from the time of the application to come review the sign in place and active. I figured that was valuable to share, regardless of our decision tonight on this particular topic. ITD still has to sign off on this, and it does expressly state as a choice in the application which the number of faces, the dimensions, and if it's an electronic variable LED or MMS type sign.
So Mayor?
Councilwoman McCullough?
So are you alluding to that this should just be a whole new, contract, or what is it called, proposal?
I mean, Mayor,
CUP.
Huh?
CUP.
CUP, yes, thank you.
to an extent, I think I would slightly lean towards yes. This is a completely material change in sign usage. While it exists on the same face of the building at basically the same address and within inches of the other two, it is a distinctly different use than what was previously approved. Whether it falls to an amendment or a new CUP, we'd still be back here having this discussion at the end of the day. So like, it's kind of that weird middle ground with this one, but if that answers your question as far as that goes.
So Councilwoman Garvey.
I would like to approve the conditional use permit for an off-premise sign located at 404 North Main Street with conditions requested by Ron Cox.
Councilman Brennan.
Brenda, what does our ordinance say about how much of a window frontage that signs can take?
I'm not real familiar with the sign code with regards to window signage.
50%.
50%?
50%. But I can't sit here and tell you which window it applies to, but I know it's 50%.
Right. He does have more windows along that frontage as well. So is it just the front of the window, or is it that wraps around?
I think it's, I'd like to get that answer
Sure.
before we proceed. Anybody have that able to look up?
What are you looking for?
So,
The sign
I mean,
permit.
as far as that is regards, if you look at the signage in, like the Chevron station, they have the giant jet they cover the entire window, kind of thing. I mean, yeah.
Well, there's no doubt that there's a lot of illegal signs in our community,
Right.
some of which you've installed.
I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, it's true. Like, so whether they fit the full window or the maximum coverage of 50% of the window, right? The ordinance has to be followed, and I'd like to reference all the ordinances before we proceed on.
So really quick, council, we have a motion. Do I hear a second? All right, dies for lack of second.
I would also like to say it is a conditional use permit, so asks can be made with regards to the code.
Mayor. Councilman Harjo.
Asks can be made with. Asks. So they can ask to deviate.
Hang on, guys, come on. Councilman Harjo.
That was pertinent. I wanted to make sure I heard that as well. To Councilman Brennan's point, window signs is covered in 9-13-2, section S. Window signs in commercial or industrial districts, provided that permanent signs shall not exceed 50% of the window area. The interpretation of window area is that one window, or is that the combination of all three? In which case, if it's all three, I would argue that he's less than 50%. If it is one, then it's 100%.
Councilwoman Workla?
I think it should just go through a whole new process again. I think it needs to go through P&Z, look at their recommendation and findings for a whole new, what these ordinances and that you guys are bringing to light, and then, yeah, come back to us. I don't feel comfortable making a decision on this with all the information.
Mayor. Councilman Brennan.
Sorry. Paul, in order for that to happen, I totally agree. Do we have to deny it now and send it back? Or we can't, how would we say you have to apply for a new one under a brand new CUP?
So this is an amendment to the existing CUP?
Mm-hmm.
So I actually
got him.
I'm not sure that a second CUP would be required. I realize that the amendment is changing the very nature of the initial CUP that's granted. And if the amendment is denied, he still has the CUP that was already granted. It seems a little strange to me that have the same parcel of property with two CUPs on it. That is that's something that runs with the land. It's a conditional use permit. You just don't see two conditional use permits on the same parcel of property, both pertaining to signs. So I actually think the tenor of how it was brought, I swear I've answered this question before from somebody, but I think my prior advice was that it's probably appropriate as an amendment. And if it's not appropriate to be granted, so I have several open questions that I would like to put my nose into our signed ordinance, because I haven't read it. So the plain reading of the ordinance wins the day. However, our interpretation of our ordinance carries due deference in any court of law, and so at first blush, if the conditional use permit is dependent upon not creating visual blight, et cetera, I would, right outside of the gate, argue that it does not matter if it's the danger that it creates to the street frontage. It makes no sense to me at all that if you have a provision that says it could be only 50% of the window, that somehow now it could be the entirety of this window because you have windows that wrap around the back or something. That would totally defeat the purpose of not creating the visual blight. And so I would argue that I would want to read the plain text of our ordinance before I made that opinion. But that seems logical to me.
I have it. I have it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'd like to make a motion to table P&Z's commission recommendation finding facts to amend the existing conditional use permit for an off-premises sign located at 404 North Main Street, conditions requested by Yvonne Cox.
Second.
Until legal looks at it?
Yes.
I have two or three other questions that I want to answer to myself too. So.
Okay, yeah.
So there's been a motion and a seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Harjo.
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla.
Aye.
Councilman Brennan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey.
Dave?
Okay. So, really quick, is that coming back on the next meeting?
Do you have time?
I'm sorry, would you please do, would the maker of the motion amend?
Any relation?
I don't remember who did it.
I did.
Motion to a date certain.
Okay, well, for you, is 2 weeks and up.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay,
With this,
yes.
it won't take me long.
Yes, amend my motion for next council meeting.
And does the seconder concur?
Yes.
I'm good.
Okay.
Because now we don't have to re-advertise and all that stuff, so.
Okay. Let's run down to action item number 3, deliberation of the City Planning and Zoning Committee recommendation of findings of fact to amend the existing C4 planned unit development PUD for air-based commons mixed-use development with conditions requested by Mike Freer. Council, what do you want to do?
Getting hot here, isn't it?
It is hot. I have questions.
All right, Mike, are you up here with them, Taryn?
Try to speak as little as possible.
I was say, how many words you give Taryn, Mike?
We limit him to
500?
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
are we able to get C100 utilities plan up on the big screen? Okay, thank you.
I mean, not
I
that
have
that's
2 questions
blight.
just on that
That's not what I meant by blight.
plan.
I turned the heat off. It was getting hot in here. Toasty roasty. You're supposed to be all connected there, Taryn.
Is it not connecting?
Well, I have to figure out which connection it's connected to.
Oh, okay.
There it is.
Yay.
Hold on.
I'm here for you, sir.
C100?
Yes, sir.
Oops.
Okay. So, well, can I have, oh, there, thank you. Okay, thank you. Let's see, 100. Okay. So on Falcon Drive on the northwest corner, the utilities easement, looks like it does not extend to the sewer manhole. Can you confirm?
One more time.
Yes. So Falcon Drive, do you see Falcon Drive?
Where's her pointer?
Freer?
Oh, I get a pointer?
Yeah, give her a pointer.
Is there cats in there? That's what we do with these things at home. Okay, so this is Falcon Drive.
Okay.
Okay, so it looks like the utilities easement does not extend to the sewer manhole. So you can see it stops short. Is that I can't see from here. Is that the sewer manhole?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it looks like it stops short right here. On this side, it extends around the sewer manhole, but it does on here.
Yep, so these are not construction drawings. These are entitlement drawings, and this actually is an old one. So these are private, and the easement will extend to encompass all installed infrastructure improvements. So the short of it is, yes, there will be an easement that extends to all
Okay.
Infrastructure.
Okay. Second, at the entrance of Freer, is it Freer Lane, right here? There appears there is no utility easement between the sewer manhole and the sewer line running south to the property owned of Intermountain Communication. So right here, there's no easement as well. So you can see that we're good, no easement.
There was an easement added because there was discussions with another landowner. And so again, not construction drawings, but there will be an easement on the application. So in the newer drawings, you can actually see an easement that extends all the way over.
So when we get these plans, I guess my request is, can we have the most updated drawing? Because to my understanding, there's no easement, but there is a sewer line present, right?
Oh, actually, I'm going to offer correction. So this one does include an easement. So if you look here, this dotted line here,
Uh-huh.
that is the included easement.
Well, on right here, right here, right here.
Yep, and extends all the way down and all of this.
You see an easement right there?
Yes. That is an easement.
Okay, I don't see an easement there, but, where is my big map? But I do not see, do you guys see the easement?
Yeah, it's just really faint. It's kind of almost in line with your H2O line, I think, or your,
Water line.
yeah.
So the water and sewer
Wrong
lines are
glasses. Hold on, sorry. That was not helping me a bit.
You see it?
Agreed.
No, but coming down here in the entrance.
So it's a really faint dotted line. On the other side, excuse me.
I see, right here, see how it goes, and then it stops.
But that continues here, if you look at it, I think it's like 5 dashes and a dot. 5 dashes, dot, 5 dashes, dot, along here.
Okay. I guess going back tonight, but yeah, so these aren't construction plans, but they will be there. So I guess you're saying that they, okay, so the one on the north there, northwest, okay. Yeah. No, it's just,
They can get really muddy, so I do apologize. I'm always open for constructive criticism on how to make them more understandable.
yeah.
And I often just assume that everybody's looked at drawings for years and years and years.
Oh, sure.
And so you wind up, especially in civil applications, you wind up with so many lines and things, and when they start crossing each other, the programs will actually take out or remove portions of it. Makes it even harder to see.
For sure, yeah. Okay, so as long as we have easements.
Councilman Brennan?
Taryn, could you help me understand, I want to make sure I'm distinguishing between the original and the amendment. I'm looking at, and if I'm talking about something that's in the original, just tell me. As far as the parking requirement, paragraph 12, 11 and 12 says the applicant has requested that this parking requirement apply to the entire development, which is 1 parking space per 300 square foot of sales, storage, or display for commercial or retail. When it says the entire development, but then the next paragraph over, which is 13 and 14, says city ordinance is 2 per residential unit, and the applicant's PUD request seeks to meet the requirement by providing a single-car garage the residents will be required to use, which I find hard to believe, and a single parking pad per dwelling. Is this amended language here?
It is. It is correct in the sense that it splits up the commercial from the residential. Because they're, even though it's the same underlying zone, one is obviously the northern part's commercial, and so parking for commercial is always different than residential. Usually it's more onerous, and I think it is one stall per every 300 square feet.
So is there any, I guess what I'm getting at, is this a request for deviation or saying we're going to abide by city ordinance as
Abide
is?
100% by city ordinance.
On the commercial?
On both.
And then on the residential, I don't, to be honest, like I don't recall indoor garage space being counted as one of the two. It very well could have been, and maybe Scott, you could help me on that, but.
If I'm being honest, sorry, Mayor, if I'm being honest, I don't recall. Hey.
And so what's the requirement to park in a garage? Like an HOA?
No, so we're, so if you've heard this language from me before, I apologize, but I'm not a big fan of street parking.
Right.
And so it can be abused, there's potential for that. So in an effort to avoid that, there is some street parking because the roadways are fairly large, but it's limited. So I worked this through with Fire Marshal Reed, and so it's limited here. There's a little bit of space there for the park. And that is it for the residential.
Okay. We have another issue in the city as is for being allowed to park within a curve of like an S curve like that in a road, and it always causes problems. Have you truly extended the width of your road to handle that in the curve for the park?
Yes, and, well, I say that, yes, with the caveat or the acknowledgement that we don't allow parking on the opposite side.
So you're saying only one side of the curve?
One side of the roadway.
And this road is going to stay as a private road the entire time? It's not going to become a city street?
No.
Chris, you verify that the city's never taken this on as a...
That's my understanding, yeah. So.
Okay. I tend to care a little bit less for private development than a public city street that's receiving, all the taxpayer money for the road and whatnot. So, I'll move past that. As far as the setbacks go, can you tell me what you've requested for deviation for that residential unit setbacks?
Oh.
Or
yes.
Yeah, let's talk about front side setbacks. And I saw like a request to reduce the frontage of each residential unit.
So the initial PUD, we were in compliance because the individual units were not, well, I say that, all except for I think one setback, we were in compliance. Now that we are asking to separate every unit for sale, meaning it's real property, there is no zero lot line or townhouse ordinance that allows for a 0-foot setback. And so you wouldn't be able to parcel out those units. And so for that reason, you'll see the 0. And we do have some 5-foot setbacks. Most of our setbacks are 7.5 feet. That would be between 2 units. And so there's plenty of space between those. And then we do have a few that are 10 foot, which if we're looking for 5, we're within there, within the allotment, but I point them out as not being in compliance. And then we have quite a few 15-foot setbacks. So in other words, there are multiple setbacks that we're asking for.
The red is the deviation from minimum standard.
Correct.
Reducing below, not increasing. Can you help me understand what the 0-foot is for an individual?
Well, so if you have our buildings are 4plexes.
Okay, 4plex.
And so the end units, they have plenty of setback on the ends, so they're in compliance. But
the shared walls.
The shared walls, they are not.
Okay. And so the space between the two 4plexes varies through all of those?
It would be 0 between them.
Between
the buildings.
Between the buildings, yes.
Correct.
Where, you said most are at 5 feet between the buildings?
7.5 feet.
And that's from property line, correct, Terrence?
That's from property line, that's correct.
So there would be
So it's
15
more
feet
like
between
15. Yes.
some of those buildings, from end to end. Between
So
buildings.
the property line will go down the center between the two structures with 7.5 feet on each side.
At the end of the buildings, yes. So you'll have 7.5 feet to property boundary line for this structure, and then you'll have 7.5 feet to the next structure. So it'll be 15 feet total.
I thought I was thinking, say that one more time. I want to know between residential buildings. Not the front or the back, but
Between buildings. As you mentioned, there'll be about 15 feet from building to building in some instances, and 20 in others.
Correct. They're between the buildings, there's always a minimum of 15 feet separating them.
okay, you haven't done any 5 feet between buildings.
Nope, I listen.
Thank you. All right. Those were my concerns.
All right. Council, you have any other comments, questions?
Mr. Mayor, just to say that all of this has already been approved.
Right.
It's already, the only reason that it's amended is not to change. I mean, I suppose in a fashion, you're saying the setbacks are changing, but it's just, the building was already approved. but in order to, the building, which is 4 units, in order to market each individual unit, that's the only reason it's here. Nothing, the building isn't changing at all.
Nothing's changed.
We're increasing the number of lots, which is why they come back.
That's what I asked that at the beginning, like help me differentiate between the original and the.
Apparently I did not do well.
300 words. All right, council, what do you want to do?
I want to see that. I do want to see the difference.
Okay, so original, I actually was thinking through the presentation. So original, amended. Original, amended.
Except the original had the same number of units in there.
Correct.
Correct.
44 townhomes either way. Yep.
Exactly the same number of
The
units.
original and the new one are identical. It's just he wants to be able to sell one at a time rather than have to sell the whole building at a time.
Correct.
Call me stupid. Why do they not look like, sorry. Mayor,
Councilwoman Workley, you good?
call me stupid. Why do they not look the same? Why does it look like there's only,
Mayor, in essence,
Yeah.
what they've done is they've taken one lot and they're splitting into 4.
let me see the prior, please.
So
There would be the same number of units.
This is one lot in the old,
Mm-hmm.
and then if you flip forward, this is the same lot divided into 4.
Correct.
One for each townhouse.
So the first one was a fourplex that they would sell.
Explain.
So the whole building, all 4.
That whole 4 at the sell.
once.
Okay.
At once. The
And it would
new
be
one
for a
is
developer.
Individual, and that's the change that's coming here?
Councilman Brennan.
I make a motion to approve P and Z's recommendation and findings of fact to amend an existing C4 planned unit development airbase commons.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion?
Mayor?
Councilman Harjo?
I have one quick question that I'm trying to recall back to the original P and Z meeting for the original format. There was a discussion about a condition that I'm not seeing reflected in like the leaser's agreement and renter's agreement or in the conditions section that said that any leaser, renter, or owner would have, or now adding owner, would have to accept all noise from the airport. Like, I remember that being part of that discussion. It's not reflected in the meeting minutes, and it's not reflected here, but I went back and watched the meeting, and that was a portion of the discussion. It was not captured. Recognizing that has no aspect of the purpose of replatting. So, would you be amenable to having statements like that in lease agreements, renters agreements, owners?
So there's no longer leasers or renters, but for the HOA, they would have to make it into that.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I think it's already, isn't there already language in, or the city ordinance that says we're living by an airport, there's gonna be noise from airplanes or trains if you live by a train, but.
I couldn't find anything expressly stating it in the ordinance, and that's, I think, the nature of my ask is if you'd be willing to go down that road. Airport being obviously a critical subject of the city, as per tonight's meetings.
So you would be asking, so I'm clear, that every time I sell a lot, that in those settlements documents, there's something that says you live by an airport, and you might hear an airplane.
Yes, so there's language in here that agreed now will go away to an extent, but there is a line that in the conditions that P and Z set forth and that council had previously approved, that would be a portion of that. I don't want to step on the council's previous approval and change what that portion of the agreement is, because I recognize that's not the topic at hand. I would welcome to see that language in either the HOA language or lease or renter homeowner language. It defines pet policies in here, tenant parking, maintenance obligations of the owner, including all PUD common areas and buffers. Does not state that there's not going to be an issue with accepting airport noise. I mean, you can throw a rock from your property across the highway. So I just want to make sure that that's captured somewhere.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'll call the question. Councilwoman Garvey.
Aye.
Councilman Brennan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla.
Aye.
Councilman Harjo. Aye. All right. Run down to action item number 4, deliberation decision on Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation of findings of facts to amend the existing preliminary for Airbase Commons mixed-use development with conditions requested by Mike Frere, sorry.
Mayor,
Councilman Brennan.
make a motion to approve Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation of findings of fact to amend the existing preliminary plat for Airbase Commons mixed-use development with conditions.
Second?
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Brennan.
Aye.
Councilman Harjo. Aye. Councilwoman Workla.
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey. All right. Go down to action item number 5, deliberation discussion regarding golf course concession agreement with Curly's 2 Sports Grow LLC is set to terminate on September 30th, 2024. Hey, Brandy.
Hi there.
How we doing?
Good.
Come on down.
Okay. Hi, everyone.
Mike, how you been?
Oh, just wonderful.
Thanks for having us,
Yeah.
inviting us.
Thank you for coming, yeah.
All right, council, what do you want to do?
Mayor,
Councilman Brennan.
can I open by saying, Brandy, that I've been very pleased with the restaurant operations. I'll caveat that by saying I don't eat there during golf times, really, outside of that, but the service I've gotten, the food has been good, so.
Great.
I'm not going to try to run you off by any means, but I think there's a few things in the agreement that I would like to reword for a potential next contract.
Okay. Perfect.
Councilman Brennan, go ahead.
Let's see, so, I try to see like what's in the overall best interest of the city, and I think what's in the absolute best interest of the city is having a good quality product, service available to the people, whether you're golfers or non-golfers. Maybe secondary to that is the services that the city's responsible to provide versus what you're responsible to provide, and measuring that against the fee structure, of what you pay for the rent. So what concerns me the most is, the restaurant appliances that the city owns. Every time they break, like, we've got to put in a new refrigerator and all that for what I consider is nominal rent for the space. Under paragraph 10, conditions of the clubhouse and equipment to be supplied by the city, I've kind of highlighted some notes in there. And then, what else? I'm going to jump around, if you don't mind.
That's totally fine,
So I
yeah.
get my thoughts out?
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, I know you're very much aware of all the fight, whatever discussion we had with Golf Pro in that contract. And so I'd like to incorporate a little bit of the language we use there so that everything is fair.
Okay.
In paragraph 16, it talks about employees of the concessionaire. We are making TJ, or the city do it on behalf of TJ, background checks on all of his employees that are working for him. And I think it should be the same across the board. So your employees will go through like a small background check representing, right, the city property. They're working on the city property. And I'm not saying you have any bad employees by any means. Please don't take it that way. But I'm trying to draw an equality between the two contracts that essentially use the same space.
And this would be a background check performed by who?
Probably our police department.
Yeah.
They just do a quick, well, I won't say exactly how quick or whatever. Maybe Lieutenant Larson could answer that. But something pretty basic to make sure they're not like
Wanted.
What's that?
You don't have warrants?
Wanted, felons for like child abuse type stuff, or whatever. I know the city draws the line somewhere. with their personnel policies, but I'm not exactly sure what that is. Repair and maintenance of the clubhouse under paragraph 21, but more specifically paragraph 22, the maintenance of the equipment. The liquor license, I'd like to have a little bit of a discussion about the free use of that. I'll try not to speak incorrectly, but you are paying for the liquor license, right? Like the $300 annual fee for that?
The state, city, and county.
Okay.
So it's actually more than 375 that I paid to the state. That's just the state.
The state one?
And that's just because it is on the golf course. So like over here at Curly's, it's 800 to the state.
Right.
Plus the county, plus the city. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm trying to point out is that liquor license, although it's under your name, you could never walk away with that license and leave the city. So you're kind of getting a free license and paying an annual fee to the.
So a little history behind that. The city
government.
owned it prior, so when we were asked by the previous mayor to come and take over this, it was transferred to us. So we had to go actually to alcohol beverage control, and it just shows as a transfer.
Right.
So if we were ever to leave, it would just transfer back to the city. The city owns it.
Right.
So it's just transferred in my name as of right now.
Sure, absolutely. So outside of those couple of things, those are the things I would want to engage in discussion with, and the monthly fee for the space that you're using. That's where I'm at. I'd love to see you stay there and keep producing a quality product.
So with the equipment, that was kind of funny because when we took that over 10 years ago, most of that equipment was very, very old. So through the 10 years, things have broke down and has had to be replaced. Pretty much everything in there is new now. So the only maintenance we would be having is, I feel like, just regular maintenance. Things are gonna break. Refrigerators, freezers, it's used a lot. We use it a lot. So I don't really see a whole lot of replacement. There is, I think we just had a lemon keg cooler that went down when we bought the two of them together, which we asked for that. I know it's been a really long time, but other than that, everything's pretty brand new.
Okay.
We do have a residential freezer in there, which probably should be commercial, but that was replaced when the old one went down. But we make do. It works. We're making do out of there. So I don't see a whole lot of equipment replacement anymore because everything in there is pretty new.
The newer it is, the faster it breaks down.
Well,
You know.
that is true. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously.
The quality of stuff.
They don't make it like they used to. But like I said, I don't really foresee a whole lot of that.
Mayor.
Councilwoman Workla?
So, in the contract, it says like big screen TV, tables, chairs, are those all new as well?
Yes, and the big screen, I think that might have been the old TV that is no longer there because TJ and I together purchased the one that's in there. So I think this is 6 years old. So I think that, I don't even know where that TV went. I'm assuming.
Yeah, it says cooler, all freezers, stove, grill hood, fryers, dishwasher. Those are all new?
Well, the dishwasher was there when we got there, but we have maintenance. He comes in all the time and we maintain that. But the tables and chairs, those are new. Everything's new out there.
Councilman Brenna?
Brandy, do you have any requests for anything different in the contract?
Kind of. Not a whole lot, but I mean, this is kind of like working with Jake. Jake has requested, along with myself, the maintenance on the outside of the clubhouse. It clearly states in here that the city will take care of it, and they don't, because Jake just is really busy. I mean, he has a lot of other things going on, and I know that he said if we ever do this to please reword that somehow. We take care of like as much as we can, but if there's anything out there, of course you can't keep everybody happy, but we get a lot of complaints like, or whatever's outside where the water cooler was or the hose or whatever. I'm like, that's not even ours, but you know, that we try to take care of as much as we can, but it would be nice to have somebody that we can call that will come and help us with anything like the maintenance of the outside of the building.
You're not talking like the patio of like cleanliness, are you?
No. Just like it says, I think it says in here, like debris, branches, like things like that. It states that they're going to do it. And I had talked to Jake a while ago, and he said when they have time, they'll run over, try to do it at least once a day, and try to blow the leaves off or whatever. We take care of like the straws and the napkins and all that stuff. And
Soda spills and...
oh, for sure. And we have actually borrowed TJ's spray, and like we have our employees go out there and just try to spray it and power wash it as much as possible. But those power washers, that one that TJ had is just, it's pretty worthless. So we've had Mike's employees come out and spray it with their, but I mean, they can't do that all the time and they're busy too. So we work really well together with those guys. So, I mean, we just try to do what we can, but I just don't want it to all come crashing down on us all the time when the outside looks bad.
Sure.
And the door, like right now, it's like you could see everything, the paint's chipped off and everything. It just, some of that stuff aesthetically doesn't look very pleasant, so. And of course, and because we're the restaurant, so they're like blaming, we get a lot of that, but.
No, that should be an easy fix, right? Painting the door or whatever.
Yeah. And then, I think we have to fix, this is off subject, but someone texted me the other day, something about the bathroom, girls' bathroom, smelling all the time because of the P-trap.
Okay,
sewer.
that has been a thing since we got there. They actually came in originally and put a metal plate over it, but it's just, right, I mean, it is bad. It's bad. It just, and sometimes, it's bad. So we know, like my employees know, we pour down a cup of bleach, and then sometimes it'll go away, but we have to keep the door propped open and the closet door, it comes out of everywhere. It's just, yeah, and it's not very pleasant when you're in there eating, but.
How about, I think this is something, you put your thoughts down, and we kind of reconvene with, okay, here's the list of things, in that way, in order, like, to get to a finishing point on your contract.
That would be perfect.
And then we do, we kind of all do the same thing, and then that way, because I think that's what tonight's about, is just kind of direction, right? I mean,
yes.
For you guys, for legal.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think correct, and I think Councilman Redden hit the nail on the head, is we structured the clubhouse per square foot, and we're gonna probably hold you guys to that square footage as well, if memory serves me correct. So I think so let them jot down what they're asking for, and then you tell us what you're asking for, and then you guys all meet in the middle.
Perfect.
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
In parallel with all that, I wouldn't mind having some data kind of compiled on the cost of like utilities, equipment, maintenance on the equipment, and get kind of like an understanding of what equipment there is. The contract is one thing, but for instance, my curiosity, like the grill hood, for instance, are you maintaining that? Is that a part of the city's? And then for the city to have a pretty comprehensive view of what the expenditure is, so we can come to the table with an appropriate and reasonable amount, if there was a change to the terms. I think that would benefit us. Understanding as well that like that's probably going to be somewhat difficult internally, that we have these things and they might be categorized under the golf course, or just extracting that from the glob of data of what maintenance has taken. I recognize that's not an overnight endeavor. So regardless of the rest of any future motion here, I would just like to make sure that we have enough time to research those things when we state a date in the future that we're gonna reconvene on this.
So I think, and the reason we put this out is we want to give everyone ample time. So, I think that was quintessentially the caveat of having this discussion, is to say, hey guys, not that we don't want you there, but we want to make sure that everyone has time.
Right. That'd be great.
Well,
go ahead, Jeff.
Paul, correct me if I'm wrong. if we're not even gonna entertain this, but we're gonna take similar language out of this, we have to terminate this current existing agreement and redo a new one? Or are we going to amend this one? That's what we're gonna need to figure out, right?
It depends on what the changes are. So by the terms of the agreement, this one ends in September 30th. Within 90 days before that, we have to give notice of what we're going to do with it. And so this agreement can run its course by its general terms. And we could just do an addendum to this because in paragraphs 18, 19, 33, for example, it states what the terms are, it states what the termination, how it goes, and then it provides for a year, after the 6-year term, it goes to a year-to-year lease. And the parties have thereafter have 90-day period that either of them can terminate. And so if in the addendum, so the way I'm inclined to do it is just do it as an addendum, because then it doesn't matter exactly when it ends. If we finish this off in April or May, it doesn't matter. We're just saying that the new term is this. I realize that some people got upset about the golf contract, saying that it hadn't ended yet, but that's dumb. If you have a new agreement, it covers it fixes the prior one and it supersedes it. That was the word I was looking for. And then just so whatever the terms you guys want to do. Paragraph 1 will be changed as follows: rent shall be this. So that's what my words do. They just
put her to sleep.
So with what you're saying, is there any way, I know it reads in here, you could go, like we could negotiate this and go year to year. That's really hard running a business like that, to not know if you're going to be there in 6 months. Because if it's a year to year, then you'd have to know within 6 months if you're going to be there in 6 months. It's really hard to have, I mean, the way I share my employees and everything between both, like that's why I emailed you all prior, because they need to know if they're not going to have a job in 6 months. And so that's why we originally, with the 4-year contract was my original contract, and then it was recommended go year to year, and then and then somehow it came to 6 years. I'm not saying that, but even a 2-year contract with the terms of being able to terminate either way, maybe just 1 year is really kind of hard. So if there's any way that we can negotiate doing something like that.
Correct. I'm not speaking for this council, but I think we're trying to fix those 2-year, like 6-year contract, 10 years. So for here moving forward, I think 2 years was what we gave TJ. You know what I mean? So I don't think that's out of the question.
Okay.
And then I guess the question was what does the body want to do? Are you guys happy with keeping them as your concessionaire? Remember, that was the I guess here moving forward, if that's what the project we're going to go, we'll go that direction, and then with amendments.
Yeah. Right.
Councilman Brennan.
I'm totally fine keeping the same concessionaire as long as we can agree on the terms and the length of the term, like you're saying. As long as there's an exit strategy for both sides, then I'm fine with that. I guess while I'm talking, if we could just set this over for, I don't know, like maybe 2 council meetings where we can talk. Brandy, would you allow me to come in and do a behind-the-counter tour to look at the equipment?
Absolutely.
And all that stuff? Okay, I'll contact you at some point.
That would be great. And that would be one thing I would ask too, is to communicate. I would like to have, like, even if it's a yearly meeting or 6-month meeting, just to kind of communicate. Because I know that we had lack of that. I mean, I could email Tiffany or whatever, but it'd just be nice to know what you guys are thinking of us. And so if there's something that you guys want us to change, we can change it, instead of finding out from a comment card from someone. But, so that would be great. And yes, we welcome you guys to come in. That'd be awesome.
So Councilman Marjoe, you want some statistical data?
Yeah, you know me. I'm a data-driven guy.
Right.
I'll try to get with Brandy and Jake, and we'll go
Thank you.
inventory and find dates and see what we probably need Mike to help us. But,
but again,
And
like
Sam,
I
I'd love to
said,
come
in
visit.
10 years, we've replaced it. So yeah, we had to maintain that freezer out in the shed 1 million times because it was just old. And finally, PMG is like, just get a new one for the love of God. But so these are all new, so we're not going to have that. So So that's something to take into consideration. But like the hood, you know, yes, that's supposed to be done every 6 months. Per the city, they requested that we have it or like every 3 months, so we have it done every 3 months, but like my restaurant over here, we do every 6 months. So it just depends so those are things that obviously have to be done. The guy comes in and looks at the ice machine. That's a maintenance, the dishwasher. Those are things that we can say, yes, this is absolutely what it costs.
Thank you. I appreciate you
So
being willing
council,
to help us with that.
do you guys want to have this meeting with Brandy and Mike in, like you said, 2 meetings from now on, from future?
Yeah, so that would be like a table, right?
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to table the golf course concession agreement with Curly's 2 Sports Grill LLC set to terminate September 30th, 2024. The next meeting, yeah, probably two meetings from now.
Okay.
First meeting of April?
Yes. Yes.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you
you.
for having us, appreciate it.
Okay,
Mayor?
Council, okay,
No
go
final
ahead.
comments, so I was just gonna motion in.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to enter executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 74-2061C to acquire an interest in real property not owned by a public agency.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Awesome. All right.